You're listening to the FIFA Club World Cup live on Talksport 2, presented by DAZN. Watch every game of the FIFA Club World Cup live and for free on DAZN. Just sign up at dazn.com. Alvin Martin is alongside me. Ian Danter. We're about 6 minutes away from kickoff in the Lincoln Field Stadium in Philadelphia that holds about 70,000 people. It's certainly not full today, but there's a sizable contingent of Moroccan support at one end of the stadium as the players make their entrance individually, as they do in this Club World Cup. One by one, they're announced as they come out onto the playing surface. Omar Mamouche is the one who's just walking through the dry ice onto the pitch. You'd have loved that, wouldn't you, Alvin, in your day? Walking through the dry ice just beyond Bonzo.
It's Olympian, isn't it? It's an Olympian, like swimming style.
That's exactly what it is. Now, you and I can't pretend to be experts on Wydad from Casablanca, but if there's one thing we've learned in the recent past from Moroccan football, Alvin, when you look at Morocco's performance at the Qatar World Cup in 2022, they are tough to break down, tough to get past, and their manager, Ben Hachem, he is saying he's got some surprises in store for Manchester City today.
Well, it's a big ask for them, isn't it? But it's one of them games in football where you've got everything to gain, nothing to lose. And I think there's an element of them representing their country. It's bigger than just a football match. It's national. It's about getting a prestige worldwide, and what a stage to do it on. So they'll give it everything. They'll make it very difficult for Man City. It's whether Manchester City can play with the cutting edge that we expect. We didn't see it that often last year, and it won't be easy because I think this team has already played against the likes of Porto, Sevilla, and although it lost 2 games, they only lost them by 1-0. So that would probably signify that they're decently organised.
Now, when it comes to Manchester City, you talked earlier about the drop-off that Pep Guardiola experienced, and probably, I don't wish to single players out, but I think the season coming up, if I don't know whether the end of last season or into the start of this, but Phil Foden's got a very important year ahead of him. There's a World Cup on the horizon, and by his standards, well, they dropped a lot last season in terms of goals and assists for Phil Foden. Wasn't a good time for him, was it?
No, well, I think he was in a large group of players that all suffered a decline in form, and it's a weird thing that you feel invincible for years, and they look so fantastic, and then all of a sudden the wheels come off. Everyone put it down to different reasons. Rodri was obviously a massive influence on that, but you think about what they've spent. I think it's 250 million, including January, but to have Rodri back as well, that's as important as any signing that Man City have made. So a big season for all of them coming up. And when I look at the start that they've got at the Premier League opener, Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away, Man United at home, Arsenal away. They're the first few games. They're really tough games. If you're not really up to scratch, they're all losable.
And I have no idea still at this point what they do in terms of what break they have when their commitments are done with this Club World Cup, however far they get, and how they then make that transition, the break, give the players some kind of rest before they get pre-season in for the Premier League, which starts mid-August.
Yeah, look, I think the physicians within the Man City's ranks know what they're doing. Pep will obviously make his decisions on when to play, how many games they play, etc. But you know what, Dan? So the biggest thing out of all the comments that he's made leading up to this game, he was talking about Jack Grealish, and he went, "You've got to have butterflies, you've got to have fire in your belly," and that would seem to me to be saying, okay, well, are we hungry enough? And when you're not hungry in football, you get trodden on, because there's plenty of hungry teams and hungry players around.
There certainly are. Players are out now and just starting handshakes with the officials, and we will soon be underway on Talksport 2 for Manchester City getting their Club World Cup campaign off and running. Al Ain of the UAE and Juventus are the other 2 teams in this group. They will play their first match overnight tonight into tomorrow. Then City will play Al Ain in the early hours of Monday morning. You can hear that with us on Talksport 2 a.m. Sunday night into Monday morning, and then they'll play Juventus the following Thursday at a slightly more palatable time for most of us of 8 o'clock in the evening. But they're in Philadelphia today at the Lincoln Financial Field, which is home to the Philadelphia Eagles NFL side, about 67,000 capacity, and it is respectably busy inside the stadium from what I can see. Certainly we had that Mamelodi Sundowns game that attracted 2 men, a dog and a can of beans to that particular game, but there's, as I say, a fair few thousand that have travelled in support of Wydad from Morocco, and it's their 3rd Club World Cup, Wydad of Casablanca. Never won a game, and they qualified by winning the Champions League in 2021-22, and their new manager, Ben Hachem, he's 49, and he came in at the end of the season. He won 3 games at the end of the campaign, Alvin, where they finished 3rd in the league, so not the season domestically they would have wanted, but I think him coming in, his dad played for the club, he was a youth player. Fans love that when somebody comes in who's got a real feel for the club and an understanding of what the club's all about.
And this is a refreshing game for them, because they're usually in the position that Manchester City are. They're the favourites. All the pressure's on them to attack, to take the game to the opposition. Today, not so. So I think they'll enjoy that factor. They are a club that I think they've won 22 titles in their history.
That's right.
So they are a club with a big mentality. So from that point of view, I don't think they'll be afraid of what's in front of them today. And I said to you, the national side of things, that they're representing Morocco is a big factor for them.
Plenty of football to come later this evening across the Talksport network. You'll have a choice of listening at 8 p.m. England's under-21s taking on their German counterparts on Talksport at 8 p.m. in the European Championships. James Fielden and Darren Ambrose will be your commentary team for that one. At the same time, Real Madrid against Al Hilal in Group H of the Club World Cup, as Real get their tournament underway. Trent Alexander-Arnold, along with Jude Bellingham, of course, in that squad. Joe Shannon and Scott Minto will bring you that game. And then Thursday, we've got Inter Miami against Porto. And Friday, Chelsea taking on Flamengo, as our Club World Cup live commentaries continue. But we're about to get underway at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Manchester City in their traditional sky blue, and Wydad will be in their traditional red with a little gold pinstripe. The Manchester City home shirt has that little sash, that little white sash from the left shoulder down to the right hip. And it will be Manchester City who will get things underway in Group G. And it will be Omar Marmoush who's going to roll the ball back from the centre circle into midfield. And the first thing we can do, Alvin, once play settles down, is see what sort of formation Pep Guardiola has in mind. As we're underway on Talksport 2, City kicking from left to right as we look at this giant stadium that will play host to a number of games at the FIFA World Cup next year, including a round of 16 tie when we get into the business end of the competition, plus a fair few group stage games. Here's Nathan Ake stroking the ball out to Jeremy Doku, left hand side, and immediately Doku trying to get the flicks and tricks going. He was magnificent for Belgium against Wales the other week, Alvin, in the World Cup qualifier. Really looked like he was enjoying his football.
I think that the options that Pep Guardiola's got now are unbelievable. The squad, the biggest problem he had, I think, coming into this game or into this tournament is getting the squad down to 24 players.
Yeah.
So there's going to be a lot of departures, but certainly as a coach, he'll love having them options available. I think sometimes he likes working with a smaller squad, doesn't he? But certainly the improvements that I think he'll be looking for on last season are two things. When they turn over the ball, they look vulnerable, and I've never seen that in a Manchester City side managed by Pep Guardiola. So that's certainly one aspect he's got to improve on. The other one is being quicker, taking more chances, having more of a cutting edge, and not being predictable when you've got the ball around the final third. So these are the two main aspects I think that he'll be looking for improvements on as they play these games in this tournament.
Minute gone, 0-0, Manchester City in possession. Lewis tries to feed it in field to Marmoush. Ake floats the ball down the left hand side. Doku's in behind, lobs the ball back to around the penalty spot, drops for Foden, trying to tee up a teammate, finds Savinho, right hand corner of the area, takes on the defender, drives the crossing, keeper saves and tucked away by Phil Foden, and Manchester City lead inside 2 minutes. The goalkeeper couldn't hold on to the shot from Savinho, and we were talking about him before kick-off, needing to up his goals and assists, and Phil Foden right in amongst it early on, and Manchester City are a goal in front.
Well, it's a cool finish from Foden on his left foot. He couldn't have landed any better for him, and he just curves it into that bottom left-hand corner. Keeper should do better. He'll feel like he should have held on to that ball. He pushes it back out into the danger zone, and it's a mistake, certainly from the goalkeeper. But it's a good ball from Ake. And this is something they didn't do last year. They play a lot of short football. Every now and again, just leaving one over the top, it stretches the team. And once that ball went in to Doku on that far side, they were always on the back foot here.
And then Savinho drove the ball across the face of goal, and Benabi, the goalkeeper for Wydad, just pushed it into an area that invited Foden just to step onto it and fire it very casually home with his left foot for 1-0 to Manchester City before the dust had even settled at the start of this game. Great start for Foden, and I mentioned the drop-off in form last year. It was 10 goals and 5 assists in the season just gone in all competitions for Phil Foden. The season before that, it was 27 goals and 12 assists. So definitely looking to get back to the season before last form, but that's an ideal start for him. So Wydad under pressure immediately in Philadelphia. Manchester City in front in this Club World Cup opener. And the ball's with their centre-half, Meyers, the Dutch centre-half. Now out to this left-hand side in Zemraoui. Most of this team are Moroccan. Ball's out to the far right-hand side. Amrabat making a run, trying to get in behind O'Reilly. And he's done that for the moment, Nordin Amrabat, but O'Reilly quickly back at him. Amrabat keeps the ball in play at the dead ball line, and then O'Reilly shows great strength to get past him, and then there's a foul on Doku inside his own half, and Manchester City win a free kick. 4 minutes gone on Talksport 2, and Manchester City are 1-0 up already.
I think, you know, when you look at Manchester City and everything that they've done up until last season, they had everything right, Dan. So I think in regards to keeping possession, having a cutting edge, scoring goals, when they turn the ball over, being solid. And I think the other thing is when they pressed with a real zest and intelligence. And the amount of times I've seen last year, so many times where one would go and then the next one wouldn't follow in, and teams were able to get out against them. I mean, that's not going to be as important today, but that's certainly another aspect of Man City's play that wasn't up to the required standard last year.
By the way, I'm a big fan of pressed with zest. I'm keeping that one. Kept in play by Zemraoui on the near touchline for Wydad. 5 minutes gone, and Manchester City are already 1 in front, courtesy of Phil Foden. Ball played back to the goalkeeper, Ben Abid, who actually showed good footwork there to control the pass that was fired back to him by Mubarak. And it will head back to the right-hand corner of the penalty area. Mubarak again, just in front of his own penalty area, plays it out to the right-hand side. Now Lorch on the halfway line, one of the front three, rolls his foot on the ball. Amrabat was in an offside position, now receives it onside, and it's worked out to the right-hand side. And an early cross looking for the ball into the area. Manchester City get it only half clear, a little hurried, and Wydad have it back. Zemraoui just tried a speculative left-footed effort from 30 yards, then flicks it down the left-hand side of the box. Mufi keeps it in play, faced up by Rico Lewis, right at the dead ball line, inside the penalty area. Works it back to Lorch on this left-hand side for Wydad. Zemraoui trying to drop the shoulder and get away from the goal scorer Foden. It's good, quick 1 and 2 touch passing from Wydad, but they've not got the ball in the box yet.
No, they haven't. But I think you can see that there's things about Manchester City's setup here where they're not quite as sharp as they were. And look, this is early days. It's new players being integrated into a team, so the understandings and the team framework will be a little bit rusty.
Amrabat plays it down the right-hand side. Mailula's waiting for the cross, and it's headed behind the ball. Went out, did it before the cross came in? Indeed it did. They thought they'd managed to work the ball into the area there, but Mufi had carried the ball over the dead ball line, and a goal kick is given instead of a corner. So Manchester City have the goal kick. They lead 1-0 through that second minute strike from Phil Foden. And there are plenty of sky blue shirts inside the Lincoln Financial Field. Very much enjoyed that start from Pep Guardiola's men.
Yeah, we've just seen a replay, but it really is poor goalkeeping, Dan. You know, he's got two hands on the ball, Benabid there, you know, and he's got to hold on to it, and he just palms it back into the danger zone and gifts Foden the opportunity, which he took well.
Ederson just hits a long, straight ball down the centre of the field. Doku and Savinho both went for it, but Wydad got it volleyed clear. Lewis on the near side, the City right, tries to work the ball into the Wydad half, but comes instead into the centre circle. And it's with Reinders. Lovely touch from Omar Marmoush to get away from his man just for a moment. Doku now picks it up, left-hand corner of the penalty area. Rolls it back to Tijani Reinders on debut for Manchester City this afternoon. Now a little flick down the right-hand side from Savinho. He'll get it back from Rico Lewis. Now Foden, the goal scorer, right-hand corner of the Wydad penalty area. But he's been forced back by Zemraoui, who then clears the ball out of play, but not before he pushed Foden to the ground. And with 8 minutes gone, Manchester City 1-0 up, and they've got a free kick.
I mean, they've got some very, very good players on display today, haven't they? But, you know, you mustn't expect too much too early, you know, in terms of the understanding within the team.
Savinho finds Marmoush at the edge of the area in a right-footed shot that whistles just past Ben Abid's right-hand post. Stays 1-0. We don't have a goal kick, but that was very nearly number 2.
Yeah, he pulled the trigger really quickly there, didn't he? One touch and no backlift whatsoever. And he still generates a lot of power. That's inches away from finding that bottom left-hand corner. Great effort.
Marmoush had a really good introduction to life at Manchester City. 7 goals in the Premier League in the second half of the season after he came in from Eintracht Frankfurt in the January window. Another example of that big spending that Alvin Martin was talking about, not just this summer but the January window as well. We think of Kuzanov coming in as well. Cherki's out there this afternoon for Manchester City on debut. We'll get a good look at him as we progress. Ryan Ait-Nouri, the other summer capture, is amongst the Manchester City substitutes, as is Rodri, now that he's fully fit. Did get a few minutes towards the end of the season, but he'll be itching to get some proper minutes under his belt once the Premier League season gets back underway in mid-August.
You know, I think this game is perfect in a lot of ways for Pep Guardiola. You know, we talk about it, is there too much football being played, etc. But this is a competitive game. There's something on it, because obviously the defending champions, Manchester City, if they can win the tournament outright, it sets them up beautifully within winning character going into the Premier League season. But it's also good for the forwards here, because they're going to dominate the ball in this particular game a lot more than probably against somebody like Juventus. But it gives the attackers that little bit of freedom, Dan, to try things, to interact, take risks, and know that even if they lose the ball, it's not the end of the world.
Space for Mufid down the left-hand side for Wydad. Plays it across the face of goal, and he's just missed by the striker. Amrabat picks it at right-hand side of the area. Lorch was so close to getting a touch. Amrabat gets the shot in, blocked by the chest of Ake, and Manchester City managed to bring the ball clear. But Lorch was so close to getting onto Mufid's ball across the face of goal. Very, very close for Wydad to get themselves level with 10 minutes gone. 1-0.
Well, they certainly committed players forward, didn't they? They broke with a real rapid look about them. And again, when they got around the final third, the ball in was a tremendously talented ball. So it took by surprise a little bit, Manchester City. A little warning shot across the bows there. If they aren't at it today, this team's more than capable of scoring against them.
Ball's back in the centre circle with Manchester City firing it forward to Cherki. Knocks it back to Reinders, who I first laid eyes on in terms of live football, playing for the Netherlands at the Euros. And I thought he was excellent last summer in that Dutch midfield. Great box-to-box ability. Now here's Marmoush powering forward. Tries to burst through 2 challenges. Couldn't do so. The ball's volleyed clear, but one back by City. Foden, 30 yards out, plays it to Savinho. Right-hand corner of the area. Tries to go on the outside of Mufid, and it's gone behind for a corner kick. The defender got the final touch. 11 and a half gone. Manchester City win their first corner of the game, and they're a goal up.
Well, Mufid, is playing as a wing-back, and he certainly showed us in that just break that he just had there. that he's got pace, and certainly against Savina, that's going to be a real race, because both of them are fantastic athletes.
So right wing corner for Manchester City. Most of the sky blue shirts are marshalled at the edge of the 18-yard box, really. One or two in the 6-yard box who the referee is keeping a very close eye on. And it will be Cherky who's closest to the goalkeeper, being pushed and pulled.
He's being held.
He's being held. Foden sends the corner in, headed out to the edge of the area. Reinders brings it out of the sky quite beautifully and lays it off to Rico Lewis. He in turn chips it out to the left, looking for Doku. Managed to head the ball up in the air, but just presented it to Wydad. Amrabat hugging that right-hand touchline. Doku getting stuck in, but can't keep hold of the ball. And Amrabat brings it away. Lorch was making a run through the middle. Headed away by Vitor Rice, but only as far as Amrabat. Lorch again. Flag stays down, right-hand side. Now it goes up against the number 4 for Wydad, Lorch. And an offside brings Manchester City a free kick in their own defensive third. 1-0 they lead.
Yeah, well, again, we've seen a good game of football here. This is not a pre-season game they're ambling and they're playing predictable, just slow football. It's a really good quality game, and certainly Man City know they have got a game in hands. They've got the start that they wanted. They haven't really created too much since then, so certainly an improvement to be made round the final third.
22-time champions in Morocco, Wydad of Casablanca. But they only finished third in their domestic league this year. Reinders will lay the ball back for Manchester City to Nathan Ake. Short pass into Reinders once again. Lewis knocks it back for Vitor Rice, who made his debut against Leyton Orient, your old club, Alvin, in the FA Cup at Brisbane Road in January after he was brought in. Given away needlessly in midfield, and they just go for goal from distance and try and catch out Ederson, but he was back on his line. I think it was Lorch again trying the effort from inside his own half, but Ederson was wise to it and patted it down on the 6-yard line. Stays 1-0.
I think creditable effort. It was a really difficult skill, wasn't it? It was a long way. He took it on the half volley as well. Ederson was quick enough with his feet to be able to get back in position.
Manchester City trying to win a corner. They have, as Doku got away down the left-hand side, showing his twinkle toes, as he's adept at doing, the Belgian Jeremy Doku. Approaching the quarter-hour mark on Talksport 2. Manchester City 1-0 up if you're just tuning in. Phil Foden putting City ahead in the second minute of the game, and they've got a corner now on the left-hand side.
Doku's a great player, and he's playing on the left, as you say, Danson. He just goes past people easily, and I think that's really hard to defend against. Perhaps they passed too much last year, and having somebody that can go one-on-one and get the other side, it gives your team a real advantage.
Load of holding going on in the penalty area as the corner kick is sent in. There was an attempted volley goalwards by, I think it was Cherky who tried it, but free kick's been given for a foul, and a yellow card's going to be administered here. And the first yellow card goes to Cassius Mailula, the striker who's on loan from Toronto for Wydad, and he just clattered into the challenge against Marmouche, and that gives Manchester City a free kick. It's out wide on the left-hand side, but somebody might fancy a crack at goal here, Alvin Martin.
I'm not so sure. I think you look at. You mentioned it just previously there from the corner, the holding that is going on in there. It's ridiculous, Dan. I think universally referees. We've got a Brazilian referee today. They've got to come into the dressing rooms before games at the start, the first 5 games of every season, and say, right, we are going to give penalties if you hold on to shirts, if you hold on to bodies, and wrap your arms around somebody, stop them moving. That is illegal. We will give a penalty, and they've got to get rid of that because it's ruining set pieces. I mean, the defenders, defensive teams are getting away with things that they should not be.
Ramon Abati is the referee for today, but he's letting an awful lot go from these set pieces. But here's the set piece for Manchester City. 1-0 up. Foden, who scored that opener, has it. He will tease the ball into the area left-footed from about 35 yards out. In it comes from Foden. 3 in front of goal, and it's headed over the top by Marmouche. And I think that's going to be a corner, is it? It actually came off Guilherme last of all. So it will be a corner kick to Manchester City, who lead by 1-0.
Yeah, it's a great delivery, but again, they held that high line, and they did defend this well, to be fair, without holding on to each other. And I think, I'm sure I'm not alone in thinking that, up and down the country, all over the world, players that hold on to each other in a penalty area. And we're watching it again. The referee is having a word. Is he going to do anything about it, though?
Quite often they don't. But he's saying, I'm watching you all. You can't watch all of them. At least it seems he can't. In comes the corner from City. Headed away by Guilherme. Picked up by Foden, who volleys it back towards goal. But it was actually straight to the goalkeeper, Bin Abid, who could hold on to it comfortably on the bounce. So Manchester City leading Wydad by 1-0 in their Club World Cup opener. And we also bring you Real Madrid on Talksport 2 tonight against Al Hilal. That's an 8 o'clock kickoff in the Club World Cup here on Talksport 2. Doku, level with the edge of the 18-yard line, left-hand side, drucking the defender for position, drives the ball across to the right-hand side of the 18-yard box, and Savinho comes inside onto his left foot, wanted to get the shot away, finds Rico Lewis instead, and it was toe-ended out of play for a corner kick by Mufid. And Manchester City keeping the pressure on here, 1-0 up with 18 minutes played.
Well, there's certainly a lot more urgency about Manchester City's final third play than that we've seen, in large proportions of last year. And I think, when you've got them two wide players who want to take players on, it's really difficult because they switch it, as Doku did there, and all of a sudden you can't double up. You're caught one-on-one inside the penalty area with great players running at you, and that's a real problem.
So, corner kick on the right-hand side for Manchester City this time. And again, the referee is telling the likes of Mufi, who's got his arms wrapped around Nico O'Reilly, frankly.
It's ridiculous.
Let it go. In comes the corner. Deep to the far post. Ake heads it just wide. Really rose well at the far post. Nathan Ake, about 8 yards from goal, tried to head it back from whence it came, and it only just bounced the wrong side of the post for Nathan Ake. Goal kick to Wydad, 1-0 City.
Well, it was a good header. It really was. He was put under a lot of pressure, so to be able to get that anywhere near the target, he did well, and it's just wide of that post there. But I think there's a lot of movement in there, and they look like they're focusing a lot of attention on their set pieces here, Manchester City. And again, why not? I think, when you had your players scoring freely the season before last, then maybe it's not as important. But when you are struggling to open up teams, then set pieces are vitally important. And I think the likes of Arsenal now, Liverpool, they all work tremendously hard on it, and maybe that's something that Man City have certainly focused on in this coming season.
Well, this goes back to your earlier point, Alvin, about coaching and new voices in the dressing room to support Pep Guardiola. Doku, meantime, left-hand corner of the penalty area, just couldn't get past Mufi. But he's going to run at him again, left-hand side, rolls it back to Reinders, 30 yards from goal. Back to the left-hand corner of the area. Cherky tried to get a touch, but it was taken off Marmouche's toe. And Mufi, the right wing back, clears it up to halfway. Mailula is just pulled back by Nathan Ake. He tried to turn and get away. No yellow card for Ake, but it is a free kick to the Moroccans. With 20 minutes gone on Talksport 2, it is Manchester City 1, Wydad 0.
Again, a really sharp game. 20 minutes gone. It's flown this 20 minutes because it's been interesting. Because I think Manchester City, when they do lose the ball, they've got to answer some questions. Because the team they're playing against, it look like they're no fools. They are moving the ball. They've got a little bit of pace up front, and they're willing to play that ball behind the last defender. So it's a good test for Man City, this.
And Lorch trying to get away down the left-hand side, hits the ball actually quite cleverly against Vitor Rice to win a throw-in when he was off balance. Works the ball infield to Zemraoui. Launch again, going into the area left-hand side. Flicks the ball over the head of Vitor Rice. Gets it onto his right foot. Plays it across the face of goal. Down goes Zemraoui cheaply. Amrabat couldn't get the shot in. And I think Zemraoui was looking for a penalty and didn't get it. But again, Manchester City just looked a little bit skittish at the back. But Wydad couldn't profit. Stays 1-0 to Man City.
Well, really good approach play there. They did. That wasn't down to Manchester City being a bit lax defensively. I think that was down to Wydad really moving the ball and having great technique. It was fantastic.
Manchester City 1, Wydad 0 on Talksport 2. Ian Danter and Alvin Martin with you for this game of the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia. Manchester City have been training in Florida. And a bit further to travel to this game than Wydad did. Have been training in Maryland, which is a couple of hours from Philadelphia. Ben Abid, the goalkeeper, clears. It's kept in play on this left-hand side for Wydad by Mayers, and then foul on Lorch, who looks a very tidy player. Tembin Kosi Lorch, he's on loan from Mamelodi Sundowns, who are also participating in this Club World Cup. Spent a few years at Orlando, so he's used to playing in the USA. And here come Wydad again, down the right-hand side. It was eventually brought clear by Doku, and an offside flag. Well, no, it wasn't an offside flag, it was a foul given. But Fad Moufi, the right wing-back, again got good space down that far side, and they do look capable of getting in behind Manchester City here.
No, well, he's got a lot of pace about him, and pace, is a real problem, real pace, and he has that. He possesses it. I think what we've seen over the last sort of 7, 8, 9 minutes is that there's a vulnerability still to Manchester City. When they turn the ball over, you can get at them, and that's something that will concern Pep Guardiola, and it's something that you want to see improving during this tournament.
How close to a full strength? I mean, we've seen relatively full strength sides from the most likely winners of this trophy so far. How close to a full strength side do you see this Manchester City 11 as this afternoon, Alvin?
I think it's still a fair way off. I think he's trying to introduce people, give experience to a couple of players. I think he'll want to protect people like Rodri and not push them too hard, because they're going to be vitally important. Haaland again, how much football do you want him to start? So I think that there are players, and that's the biggest thing about this squad is picking a starting 11. Dan, he has got now, I think, the weapons that he will need to go and dominate the Premier League and the Champions League next year. It's how he uses them, how he moulds them all together, and the understanding of his philosophy. Can he instill that and get that? It sounds like more desire. That's what he feels that they lacked last year, desire.
Well, it's an awful lot of talent from which to pick the right players and the right balance and blend. Every manager has that problem when they augment their squad. I
think what it is as well, Dan, it's understandings between 4 and 5 players in different areas of the pitch all at the same time as to what they want. What does a forward want? Where does he want the ball? And making it where it's not predictable. All knowing each other's strengths and weaknesses and covering them weaknesses and enhancing the strengths.
Reinders for Man City, as play restarts. They had a little drinks break for a moment or so whilst Moufi was getting treatment. Doku down the left-hand side of the area. Foden, the goal scorer, calling for it. 25 yards out. You might get it rolled across to him by Marmoush. That lays it back into midfield for Reinders. Now out to Savinho on this near side, the Manchester City right. Taking on the wing-back, comes in field, staying on his left foot. Gives it to Foden. Foden rolls it across to his left for Reinders. Reinders down the left-hand side of the area looking for Doku. Slid behind very, very cleverly by Fad Moufi. Otherwise, Doku was in behind. Corner kick, Manchester City.
Reinders again with an eye for putting the ball into an area that's going to extend somebody. If it gets cut out, fine. But if it doesn't get cut out, that's a good challenge there they've made. Somebody's in. I think that element of risk around the final third, you've got to be doing that. But you're talking about players maybe that might start the season. I think certainly the 2 full-back areas for Manchester City. They've obviously bought 1 left-back. I think they'll be in a market for a right-back as well. And that was a part of the team that will be better coming in this season.
Corner kick for Manchester City, right under the crossbar. Goalkeeper elects to punch when there was nobody around him, but he's got away with it. Kept in play on this near side by Lorch, but he just launched it, did Lorch, downfield, but it was comfortable for Rico Lewis to go back and collect. He's one of those who'll be vying for a right-back jersey next season. Matheus Nunes played a lot of the season at right-back for Manchester City in the absence of a Kyle Walker figure.
I still don't think Lewis is a fullback, in my opinion. I think he does a decent job, but is he a good enough right back for Manchester City to win a Premier League title? I'm not so sure about that.
Savinho tucks the ball in field for Phil Foden. 5 or 10 yards inside the Wydad half of the field. 26 minutes gone on Talksport 2. Manchester City 1, Wydad 0. Reinders, who's had a very tidy debut so far.
Yeah, he has.
Finds O'Reilly. Now Foden. Drifting out to the inside right channel. Finds Savinho on the right wing. Again, he's got two opponents for company. Foden tried to slide the ball into the area. Wydad get it half clear, but that was strongly in from Vitor Rice that time to stop the Moroccans bringing the ball away. Reinders playing it across to Marmoush. Marmoush goes for goal ambitiously from fully 30 yards out, and it went a good 4 or 5 yards wide of Ben Abid's right-hand post. Manchester City 1, Wydad 0.
Well, Reinders certainly in the first 27 minutes has shown us that he can pass the ball, he can come deep and play as a shield in front of a back four. He's also showed us that he can thread balls through, dangerous balls through. Really, really talented. He gets the ball in tight areas in midfield and gets it turned and keeps the moves, generating. So yeah, he looks like he's going to be a really good fit.
Harvey Martin alongside me, Ian Tata. Here's Lorch as Wydad come forward again. They've got men over here. Looks like 5-on-4 for a moment. Has played into the area, comes off Vitor Rice. It's going to be a corner kick to the Moroccans, away to our left-hand side. And again, promising pace that they showed getting forward.
And why did that happen? How were they allowed to get into that position? Because there's a lack of communication. That's where you need a verbal ability. And before you lose that ball, you should be having people in position that are going to get the ball back very quickly. And when you don't do that, when you don't place people in the right position by talking to each other, you give teams the opportunity to get at you, and that's what happened there.
So first corner kick of the game to Wydad. They're taking it quickly. Lorch. You'll find Mailula, who sends the ball into the area, headed up in the air. Might drop in the centre of the half for Manchester City to bring it clear. Amrabat tries to get a foot in, but away come Manchester City on the counter-attack. Reinders and Marmoush trying to thread it through the centre. There were two City players running through the middle, Cherki and Doku, and somehow Wydad intercepted the through ball and got it back under their control.
Well, you can see that, that was the ball to play, definitely. Maybe just should have had a little bit more pace on it, but it was a wonderful challenge.
You're listening to the FIFA Club World Cup live on Talksport 2, presented by DAZN. Watch every game of the Club World Cup live and for free on DAZN. Sign up at dazn.com. Ian Danter and Alvin Martin with you. City 1 up. And Wydad coming forward, driving the ball across the face of goal. Cleared away for the moment by Ake, and then good strength from Doku to dispossess Amrabat, who then just shoved Doku to the ground. He claims his innocence, but it's a free kick to Manchester City, 1-0.
You've got Doku on the left-hand side and Savinho on this right-hand side. Both, anyone that they play against, if you get service to them, they're going to cause any fullback in the world a problem. And I think we've seen enough already in the first half an hour. They've got people one-on-one, and they're not 100% right, in terms of being match fit yet. So you can imagine, as these games start to get under their belt, they're going to get sharper and sharper, those two wide players.
Half an hour gone on Talksport 2 in this first half. Manchester City's Club World Cup opener in Philadelphia. They will next play in the early hours of Monday morning UK time against Al Ain of the UAE. Little ball over the top, looking to get Marmoush in behind, but that was well defended at the back for Wydad. But it's one back
They've
on
got
this near side by
keep
Victor
doing
Lewis.
that. Just keep doing that, Dan. Looking for that long ball just beyond, and again, the defender got to it. But what it does, it just sends a message saying, if you want to press high, we're going to utilise that space in behind you, and they eventually will drop because they start to fear that ball in behind. Once they drop, then it gives you more space to go and collect the ball to feet. It
does seem to be a slightly different tactic being employed with this. Whether this is something we're going to see more often than not from Manchester City once we get into next season, we'll find out soon enough. They're trying to get Lorch away for Wydad, and he's away. He's got the better of Rice. Draws. Rice goes down, locks it across, and then Mailula has a shot blocked by the chest of Edison. Not clear yet. Amrabat for Wydad. Down the right-hand side of the area, across the face of goal, and Lorch couldn't get a touch. And once again, Wydad get close to forcing a big gilt-edged chance, but can't quite pull the trigger.
It was always twice, really. He gave the ball away originally, and then 1 versus 1, he went and misjudged the bounce of the ball. Went to ground, and he was really fortunate that the keeper really was in a position, Edison, to make a good block for them.
Yeah, Mailula tried to get the shot away, and did left-footed. And then Amrabat's ball across the face of goal. Lorch just didn't gamble. And it's just another moment where you think, OK, Manchester City are a goal to the good, and it was a lovely start, but it's not entirely comfortable for them.
Well, what you have to imagine as well, if you're Pep, and he's down there at the moment, he's thinking very deeply. If we'd have been playing Liverpool or Arsenal today,
he's thinking harder than Rodan at the moment.
Yeah, would we have conceded a couple of goals? And the answer has to be yes, you would have.
Now, way down the right-hand side comes Cherki, the new signing for Manchester City. Just flicks the ball back down the line to Lewis, infield to Foden. Look for Lewis again, but there were enough red shirts back for Wydad, and Zemraoui plays the ball up to Mailula. Then it's clipped out to this near side, and Lorch will just try and send Zemraoui clear, and it's well dealt with by Reinders that time, who was the last man back. Just kept the ball away from Zemraoui and lobbed it back to his keeper, Edison, Alvin Martin.
Just going back, take your mind back to what we just witnessed there. The ball was given away from Foden halfway into the opposition half. But once it was given away, nobody then pressed the ball. Nobody tried to win the ball back very quickly. They just sat and let them get out, and they nearly did get out, and they nearly had a ball that got one of them in. So when they lose possession, you've got to win it back really quickly, and the nearest one to wherever that ball has gone has got to really fly at it. Again, you don't want to be too harsh because it's still early days, but they're the sort of things that you just do naturally when you're playing well.
Dejani Reinders for Manchester City, just head of the centre circle, plays the ball out to the right looking for Savinho, comfortably intercepted for Wydad, clipped up to halfway. I thought that came off Rico Lewis last of all. Came off his chest, I think, but it's been given as a Manchester City throw. Pep Guardiola waving away the protests of Lorch, the Wydad left-sided attacker. And here is Reinders once again inside the centre circle, trying to direct operations for Manchester City, who lead by a goal to nil on Talksport 2 with just over 11 minutes of the first half remaining in Philadelphia. Now Cherki.
It's been a little quiet, hasn't he, Cherki?
Well, now he's trying to feed Foden at the edge of the area, and Marmoush trying to turn his defender, but that's good defending in the end by Meyers. Didn't let the ball get past him and allow the player to get around him, and it's a goal kick to the Moroccans away to the right-hand side.
I think he'd probably, we're going into 10 minutes from half-time. I think you'd be a little bit frustrated, Pep. They've just taken their foot off the gas. They've just lost a little bit of control on the game, and it's Manchester City who are now and again looking a little bit more vulnerable than the opposition, so that'll perturb them a little.
Terrible goal kick from Ben Abid. He was looking.
He's not been impressive.
No, he was looking for Mufid down this left-hand side, but just kicked it straight out of play for a Manchester City throw midway point of the Wydad half. Foden, who put Manchester City ahead in the second minute. That's the only goal of the game so far. Reinders gives it back to Foden. Centre of the Wydad half now. Plenty facing him, so he plays it backwards to square to Reinders. Now Nico O'Reilly getting involved. Tried to feed it through to Marmoush, but away come Wydad. Now a free kick's been given as a combination of players brings down Zemraoui in midfield. And I've just seen that the headgear that the referee's wearing, he's got a camera strapped to his microphone on his ear. Turning into Robocop, these refs, don't they?
Need all the help they can get. Look at Cherki, he's getting a bit frustrated. I think that sometimes they've been accused of Manchester City of passing too much. Mm-hmm. He obviously is playing down the middle, and he's standing in a tight area, but he thinks he can receive the ball. I just noticed that he had a little go at Phil Foden for not looking at him, and it is something that they've got to do. They've got to get the ball into tight areas and trust the man that's receiving it.
Less than 10 minutes of the first half remaining on Talksport 2. If you're just tuning in to Club World Cup Live, Manchester City lead Wydad of Casablanca by a goal to nil. Phil Foden with the strike early on in the piece, but since then they haven't really tested Wydad's goalkeeper too much, who looked a little flustered for the opener. And at the other end, Manchester City have looked a little timid at times, and if Wydad had had their wits about them a bit more, Alvin Martin, they could easily be level here.
Absolutely. Well, I think with that, we said, they're playing for national pride, aren't they? Morocco, I suppose sees this as an opportunity to put themselves on the map and show what they can do. And certainly, I've been impressed with the standard of football I've seen.
Yep. I think it's important to note, I think whilst there are some nations that might look down their nose at the Club World Cup, no doubt how much importance clubs like Wydad attach to it. Up against Manchester City. And Savinho tries to play the ball into the air. It's only half cleared. Comes out to Foden again. Now O'Reilly and Reinders finds Doku down the left-hand side of the area. Across the face of goal. And what a save! To deny Foden a second. Ben Abid makes up for the error that led to the first by making a brilliant low-down save as Foden tried to sweep it home from 8 yards from goal. Stays 1-0 City.
Yeah, this is a good save. And again, it's on his left foot. It comes to him beautifully here. And he strikes it well, but just doesn't find a corner. Really, he'll look back on that, Foden, and think, yeah, I've got to find that bottom right-hand corner. And the keeper does make a good save.
Ball's down the other end now, and Amrabat, once of Hull City and Watford, trying to get the better of O'Reilly. O'Reilly just looks like he's getting taller and thicker set and better every time I see him. Really growing into his role with Manchester City. What a breakthrough season he had last year for Pep Guardiola. One of the few positive signs, I think we can safely say, Alvin, for Manchester City, the emergence of Nico O'Reilly.
Yeah. Look, there's been moments, and he likes to come into central midfield, collect the ball, and he's got the multitude of talents, as there's no doubt about that. But he needs to play games to really get the experience that he needs, and that strength of character and mentality. You need games.
Well, he's playing that role that Pep Guardiola practically invented, that fullback that comes in field. Cancelo was the first one that really did it for Manchester City. Now here is Marmoush on the left-hand side. Doku feeds it into Cherki, midway point of the half. Plays a 1-2 with Foden. Cherki trying to scheme his way up to the edge of the area, but giving that away, and then there was a foul bringing down Mubarak, and Wydad will get a free kick inside their own half. There's now 6 minutes of normal time remaining in the first half in Philadelphia. Manchester City 1, Wydad 0. And I would imagine that if Amin Benachem gets his Wydad team in at half-time at 1-0, he will be, if not delighted, at least satisfied that his team are still in this.
Absolutely. And the reverse really for Pep. He got a really good start to the game. It took an early lead. Haven't really been able to dominate and take the game to the next level. Many people, including me, thought that we had this maybe as a 4-0, but I can certainly see the opposition scoring, and I don't think they've created enough chances really in this first 40 minutes. Not for the amount of possession they've had around the final third.
Well, let's see what Doku can create here as he approaches the left-hand corner of the Wydad penalty area. Rolls it back to O'Reilly. Across it goes to Rico Lewis. Now Savinho picks it up right wing for Man City, level with the 18-yard line. Clips it back infield to Rico Lewis. Across infield for Reinders, up to the edge of the area. A little wall pass attempted by Cherki. Wydad try and bring it clear, but Amrabat just ran into trouble straight away. Now Doku, left-hand side of the area, plays it into the feet of Cherki, trying to twist and turn and get away from his man. Rico Lewis finds Savinho, right-hand corner of the area, again trying to check in onto his left, as he often does. Rarely goes outside his man. Now he's trying that as he gets down the right-hand side of the area. Flicks it to Cherki at the right-hand corner of the box. Runs being made all round him, and he tried to play it into the feet of the Manchester City striker, and it was just clipped behind for a corner kick to Manchester City with 5 minutes left in the first half. 1-0 City lead.
That's been a really good battle between Savinho and Mufid. Mufid obviously wants to get forward. We've said both of them have got mountains of pace, but you can see Savinho doesn't want to take him on the outside. He's tried on 2 or 3 occasions to just take him out for raw pace. Mufid's quick enough to stay with him.
Corner kick for Manchester City. Foden, the goal scorer, is going to take it. Left-footed in-swinger from the Manchester City right. In it comes to the 6-yard line. Doku makes it 2-0, flying in at the far post. volleys it past the keeper. Everyone stood still at that far post except for Doku, who came flying in to guide it past the keeper, and Manchester City have a 2-goal lead approaching the half-time whistle.
I think when I look at this Manchester City team, in the first half of this game, they looks like they've spent a lot of time with their movement, with their delivery from set pieces, and they place a lot of importance on this. It is poor defending at the far post, no doubt about it, but they make the most of it, Man City, and it's one that really they should deal with better. But again, you've got to give him credit. I think he's been one of the standout performers in the first half as well, Doku.
Well, the goalkeeper started to come away from his goal line and then decided to stay at home, and then aided and abetted by 2 defenders standing stock still at the far post. Doku was on the move, got round the defender, poked it home, and the man who scored 3 Premier League goals last season, Jeremy Doku, gives Manchester City a more healthy look to the scoreline in Philadelphia as we approach half-time.
Yeah, I think, Wydad have probably played a part in both of those goals from a defensive point of view, but, it puts a nice complexion on the game coming into half-time, doesn't it? 2-0. Probably won't be as happy as the scoreline suggests, though, Pep Guardiola.
So, we've got less than 3 minutes of the first half remaining. Foden and Doku bookending the first half with goals to give Manchester City a 2-0 lead as the sun blazes down onto the pitch here in the early afternoon in Philadelphia. Ball played back to the goalkeeper Ben Abid, chested down by Ake as the ball was fired into the centre circle. Doku is after the loose ball, drops out of the sky, but Zimraoui gets there first. Oh, great strength from Doku to get himself in between man and ball and win it back. That's the sort of tenacious stuff that Alvin Martin, you were talking about earlier, the desire to press and win the ball back as soon as you lose it.
Yeah, but you need everyone doing that, and I think he does it naturally. As soon as that ball was there to be won, he was there, and he's a real team player.
Savinho gets round his man on the outside, tries to play it across the face of goal, but a little nick takes it away from the on-rushing Manchester City players, and it goes back to the keeper Ben Abid. I think it was Mubarak that got the vital touch to keep it away. Now Amrabat looks like he's being pulled by Nico O'Reilly as he tried to roll him down the right-hand side, gets a free kick.
Well, it's a booking really, because he's got the wrong side of O'Reilly, and he's done that a couple of times, and again, it's that inexperience I'm talking about. He's the wrong side there. He sometimes expects his pace to get him out of trouble, and I'm afraid that when you play at the really high level, it doesn't, because there are players that are quicker than you, never mind as quick, and you should learn a couple of lessons from the first half here, just from a defensive point of view, starting positions.
It's Amrabat's debut for Wydad, having just joined. He was at Hull towards the end of last season. Also played for Watford, PSV, Galatasaray, Malaga. Over 600 appearances in his club career. He takes the free kick into the area. Manchester City head it half clear. Comes out to Lorch, who tries a right-footed effort, which had some real power behind it. Ederson had his left-hand post covered, but he still plunged away to that left-hand side just in case. Goal kick, Manchester City at the end of the half. 2-0 they lead.
He's got an eye for goal, though, hasn't he, Lorch? That's a really good strike again. Powerful low, and he really had Ederson scrambling across to his left-hand side. He was worried about that one.
Ended up going a good couple of yards wide.
1 yard maybe.
We're moving into 3 minutes of minimum added time at the end of this first half on Talksport 2. You're home with the Club World Cup. Manchester City 2-0 up. And I wouldn't say cruising, but certainly the potential is there for more goals. And Savinho going on the outside of his man once again, clips the ball to the far post. Doku comes flying in again, this time trying to head it goalwards, but got right underneath the header, and it just sailed over the crossbar for a goal kick. But again, statue defenders allowing a player like Doku to scheme in and try and create something. 2-0.
Yeah, it was interesting there, because Savinho hasn't tried to take Mufid on the outside after the first 10 minutes of the game, and he's cut inside on his left, and this one took Mufid by surprise. He just knocked it, went on the outside. Intelligent play by him really, and I think he caught the defender by surprise by what he did there.
Now Manchester City win it back as it was given away cheaply by Wydad inside their own half, but then they win it back. It's brought away by Guilherme. Now he finds Lorch, who's had a busy first half, the number 4 for Wydad. Amrabat's calling for it on the far side. Chest it down. He's up against O'Reilly again. Down the right-hand side. Good pace from Nordin Amrabat. Gets the cross into the area. There's only one player in there in a red shirt. That was Mullally.
Again, O'Reilly's got to learn. He can't let people get to the byline and whip balls in like that. Against better teams, they're going to pay a price for that. Manchester City. He's hopefully learning a few lessons, O'Reilly, on that left-hand side.
Forward come Manchester City to the edge of the area. Reinders just tried his luck, having carried the ball down the field for a good 40 yards. There's 3 Wydad players with nobody around them able to pick up the loose ball. And again, Amrabat's away down the right-hand side. This time, O'Reilly stands his ground and wins a throw for Manchester City as we enter the last minute of minimum stoppage time at the end of this first half.
That's poor there. You've got 4 Manchester City players all powering forward. The ball breaks down, it ricochets, and the ball bounces to an opponent's player who's got nobody near him. And yet there are 4 defenders marking 1 player up front. One of them, when they see that happening before it happens, they've got to be pushing people in so they can win the ball back straight away. I said to you, it's verbal sometimes, not a physical ability, it's a verbal ability.
Omar Marmoush looking for Cherky at the edge of the area. Couldn't twist and turn and get himself.
Cherky's been poor.
He's not been great so far, has he? Amrabat, latter stages of added time, looking for Lorch. It's headed back to Edison by Vital Rice. He had to get that header right. He was a good 10 yards away from his goalkeeper when he made the header. Referee looks at his watch and brings the first half to a close in Philadelphia. And Manchester City have a 2-goal lead in this first half that was bookended by those goals. Phil Foden had Manchester City ahead inside 2 minutes after Savinho's cross shot was palmed out by the keeper straight to Foden, who casually stroked it home from the centre of the box. And then towards the end of the half, a corner from the right, statuesque defending at the far post from Wydad, and Jeremy Doku stole in to volley the ball home to make it a bit more comfortable for Manchester City. It certainly looks that way in terms of the scoreline, but comfortable, Alvin Martin, is not an adjective you would necessarily use to describe that first half Manchester City performance.
I don't want to be too critical. It's very early days. New players coming into the team, trying to gain understandings throughout, and so it's all going to happen at the flick of a switch. But certainly room for improvement in many areas. When they turn over the ball, there's a vulnerability about Manchester City. Round the final third, they've got lots of possession, not enough in terms of working the goalkeeper. Maybe not goals, but certainly creating chances where you've worked the goalkeeper. They're 2-0 up. But certainly lots of room for improvement.
And Wydad look like they are enjoying their attacking intent. And let's be fair, if it hadn't been for a couple of slips and trips, they could have had some really big chances to get their names on the score sheet.
No, that's right. I think they've matched Manchester City, a lot closer than perhaps we thought. A lot of us, I included, predicted 4-0 in this game, and it's going according to plan on the scoreline. But I don't think we expected to see Manchester City as vulnerable and delicate at the back as we have seen in that first half.
It's certainly nowhere near as one-sided as we saw when Bayern Munich took on the part-timers of Auckland and ended up 10-0 winners in that early Club World Cup tie. But Manchester City have the advantage. Full second half commentary to come. We'll also check in with Scott Minto ahead of Real Madrid against Al Hilal, that will bring you on Talksport 2 at 8 o'clock tonight, and see what he thinks about Real's chances in this tournament. But the half-time score in Philadelphia in our first Club World Cup commentary of the day is Manchester City 2, Wydad 0.
Every emotion and total devotion. This game on. This is Talksport 2. FIFA Club World Cup live on Talksport 2. Presented by DAZN. Watch every game of the FIFA Club World Cup live and for free on DAZN. Sign up now at DAZN.com.
It's in here somewhere.
He's looking for a car finance agreement from 2012.
It's probably in a shoebox.
He wants to see if he can claim thousands in compensation for mis-sold car finance. He should just text DRIVE to 60777 and let mycarloanclaims.co.uk do all the work. For more information on our no-win, no-fee service, text DRIVE to 60777. MyCarLoanClaims.co.uk is a trading style of a law co, an SRA-regulated law firm.
From frontline investigations to the corridors of power, the Times and Sunday Times are on the ground, taking you to the heart of the story for 240 years. So you can keep up on the issues that matter at a time when trusted journalism has never mattered more. And for a limited time only, you can subscribe for just £1 for 4 months. Times change. The Times remains. 18 plus new customers only. Offer ends 5 p.m. June 30th. £1 for 4 months. £26 a month thereafter. T's and C's apply.
You could be a lotto millionaire like Terry. Get your ticket for tonight's draw. The National Lottery. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 18 or over.
When your deodorant has been reduced to a tiny whisper and tries to tell you, I'm running on empty, I don't have much left to give. No need to worry. Your new deodorant is already on its way. Arriving today with Prime. Everyday essentials delivered fast. It's on Prime. Cut-off times and T's and C's apply. See product page when ordering.
With LV, I can get my car insurance from just £349. Just the price I'm after right now. And if I'm hit by an uninsured driver, I won't lose my no-claim discount, because insurance is simple when it's me and LV.
No wonder we're rated excellent on Trustpilot. Get your quote today at lv.com.
10% of new customers pay £349 or less November 2024 to April 2025.
Uninsured driver promise is non-fault accident only. Other vehicle and driver details required.
LV General Insurance is part of Allianz.
FIFA Club World Cup on 5. Man City set their sights on the Club World crown. Can Pep's men finish the season in style as they take on Wydad AC? FIFA Club World Cup. Manchester City versus Wydad AC. Watch, stream on 5.
Find out if you've got what it takes to deliver the goods. All next week on Talksport with Just Eat Plus. Register now at talksport.com/win and you could bag the ultimate fans prize bundle, including a home cinema system, a year's worth of groceries delivered on Just Eat, and much more. Deliver the goods. All next week at Drive on Talksport with Just Eat Plus. Get unlimited free delivery for 90 days for just $5.99. Selected stores, minimum spend, service charges and T's and C's apply.
Ultimate Sports Radio.
What a moment!
This is Talksport 2.
And they're under starters' orders, and they're off to Royal Ascot. 5 days of fine dining, full live commentary and the spectacle of the royal procession. Top tips, expert predictions and thrilling full race commentary of the horse racing event of the summer. Royal Ascot 2025 continues tomorrow afternoon from 2, live on Talksport 2.
On DAB+, online, via the Talksport app and on your smart speaker.
Club World Cup Football. 32 of the world's biggest teams battle across the USA.
From LA to New York, and from New York to LA.
I don't believe it!
Absolutely sensational. The FIFA Club World Cup live and exclusive
on Talksport 2.
Ian Danter and Alvin Martin with you on Talksport 2. We've reached half-time in Philadelphia in Manchester City's Club World Cup opener in Group G. They lead Wydad of Casablanca by 2-0. Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku with the goals for City at either end of the half, but there were chances, I can tell you if you are just tuning into our coverage, there were chances for Wydad to expose Manchester City at the back, which they did a few times, but just couldn't force that final shot in on goal to really trouble Ederson in the Manchester City goal. Let's look ahead to what's to come later across the Talksport network. England's under-21s taking on their German counterparts in the European Championships on Talksport at 8 o'clock. At the same time here on Talksport 2, we'll get to see what Real Madrid look like post-Carlo Ancelotti with Xabi Alonso in charge. Scott Minto is going to be part of our commentary team as they take on Al Hilal in their Club World Cup opener in Group H. Scott, how are you doing?
I'm really good, Dan. So I'm just wondering, how many years is it before we see Birmingham City in the Club World Cup?
5. Five.
Just the
maybe
5, okay.
5 or 6. I don't know. It's a lovely ambition to have. Can we just work on getting out the Championship or trying to not drop back into League One?
Absolutely.
I'll be happy with that. But we've seen, your old club Chelsea get off to a decent start. They've got Flamengo to come. They played a fairly strong side. given that it's Al Hilal, who are one of the relative minnows of this tournament, I don't know how strong Xabi Alonso is likely to go tonight.
I think he'll go as strong as he possibly can. I mean, he wants to make a statement, doesn't he? You know, he's already talked about this is it, this is the moment, this is the start of the rock and roll. And, you know what Real Madrid's like. They are very unforgiving. Obviously, he's a superstar from Real Madrid, and they know him as a player, and they love him, and they will give him as much time as Real Madrid fans possibly do. But Florentino Perez kind of put Carlo Ancelotti in his box in a way, didn't he? When he initially said, Ancelotti, "Man, I'm not going to take this too seriously," he went, "No, yes, you are. I'm the gaffer here, and this is what we do. This is Real Madrid. Every tournament we enter, we have to win. It's an obligation." So no, Xabi Alonso will know all about that. He'll have felt that as a player. He'll know that as a coach. He'll want to make a good impression, and he'll want to, make a statement to everybody in this tournament.
Well, I wonder, just on that, we talk, me and Al have been working together watching this, and we know this kind of ambivalence that fans in this country have towards the Club World Cup, and, not sure about the player welfare and the significance of this tournament. But I don't know, I'm guessing, I don't know what you think, but the Spanish fans are much more invested in making this work for them.
Do you know what? I think a lot of the, the European or even the world tournaments, from a club side point of view, I think us as English, we don't take it too seriously because we're so concentrated and focused on our own. And Champions League, obviously, 100%. But even the Europa League, not so much for the big boys. We've seen that before in the Club World Cup as well, back in the past with Liverpool and even Manchester United, perhaps not taking it as seriously. I think if you speak to the players behind the scenes, they certainly didn't prepare in the way that perhaps they could have done. But not just the Spanish, but the South American clubs as well. They'll look at this as a real sort of kudos to show actually how good they are. Just mentioning how Florentino Perez wants to win everything because that's who he is and who Real Madrid is. I think it is a very much a foreign mentality to do that. Jose Mourinho came in and wanted to win every single trophy, whatever it was, and he doesn't care what trophy it is. He just wants to win. It's as simple as that. So it's not just the Spanish mentality. You're absolutely right to say that. It's the South American one as well, and it's perhaps just the English ones that will take a little bit of time warming up in this. But I think once we get to the latter stages, not just Chelsea and Manchester City, and I expect both those teams to get to the latter stages, will be taking it seriously. But I think the country will as well.
And just finally, Trent Alexander-Arnold should make an appearance, maybe from the start, for Real tonight. We'll see. What we've already noticed is that his Spanish is pretty exemplary. I don't know how good your Portuguese got when you were out there at Benfica, but he appears to be adapting very, very nicely to life in Spain already, which is good to see.
Eu falava português, mas agora não. Pode hablar español si quieres. A mí no me importa.
I don't know. Misto Quente, that's the only thing I know in Portuguese. What's that, ham and cheese toasty?
But the second bit was Spanish.
Oh, very good. You see, threw me completely.
Well, that's having a Colombian wife for you. But I think he's been learning Spanish for a very long time. He knew what he's been wanting to do. But it's one thing, honestly, Dan, it's my first attempt at Portuguese, the press officer laughed in my face. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness. And I remember walking into the dressing room thinking, I don't know anyone. I'm the first Englishman to play for Benfica, and someone just laughed in my face when I've attempted to do it. But do you know what? It's like riding a bike. You just got to do it, get on, just do it again and not be afraid to make mistakes. I thought I wouldn't have done that, but clearly he has been taking a lot of lessons in that. But I was so impressed to stand up, to know that the world is watching, because that's what it's like when you're new signing at Real Madrid, and speak Spanish, and it was really good Spanish with such confidence as well. I think it was absolutely brilliant. The Real Madrid fans will love that. They really will. So it's a fantastic start already, but ultimately it's about what you do on the pitch. But I would say it's very, very important to try and integrate yourself. Gareth Bale didn't so much and should be seen as a legend for Real Madrid, but he's not quite. Steve McManaman learned Spanish, but and he's seen as a legend. So it's very important to integrate yourself into the Spanish lifestyle. And obviously one of the most important things is the language.
Scott, enjoy the game tonight. Scott Minto
Thanks,
with
mate.
us tonight on Talksport 2. He'll be alongside Joe Shannon for full commentary of Real Madrid against Al Hilal from the UAE. That game will kick off at 8 p.m. and at the same time James Fielden and Darren Ambrose will provide you commentary on England's second game in their European Championship group stage in the under-21 Euros. Germany are the opponents tonight. Back in Philadelphia, there are players warming up. Mohamed Rai, who's a right winger, the top goal scorer last season for Wydad with 11 goals. He's going through some strenuous warm-up exercises. We may be seeing him from the start of the second half because Wydad have got to try and get something out of this game. This is Group G. First and second go through in each group. And Real Madrid, of course, are in Group H. They're about to see tonight. So if you manage to finish second in this group, you end up more than likely facing Real Madrid in the knockout stages, Alvin.
Yeah, well, that's the motivation to make sure you finish top, isn't it? And I think, obviously they'll be looking at 2 wins before they go into that game against Juventus and time for top spot. Now, I don't see a problem why they can't do that. You know, one thing is for sure, that they've played some really good football on the break. Wydad and Lorch has certainly caught the eye for them. You know, he's got a lot of pace. He's playing, a really direct game. At times he's running beyond the last defender, and when he gets the ball, he wants to take people on. And he could have had a couple of goals. He had a slip right at the end of one of those moves when it looked like he put a defender on the ground, was going to pull a trigger, and he lost his footing.
That's right.
He just had to poke it to the side of him. That could have been 1-0. It would have been one of the goals, the best goals that we've seen so far in this tournament if he could have stuck it away. But look, I think they'll feel that they've created the chances. They need somebody to stick the ball in the back of the net, and they could have been in trouble in Man City if they'd have had that.
Well, that's maybe whilst the manager is looking at Mohamed Rai to come on, who played for PSV Eindhoven and Sparta Rotterdam. He is a Netherlands youth international, even though he's got Moroccan links. A lot of this Wydad squad are Moroccan based. Rodri just out there kicking a few balls in at half time. But I think whilst Rodri has been a big miss, Nico Gonzalez kind of did his best when he came in, but Reinders, well, I know what I saw when I was in Hamburg a year ago, Alvin, and I saw him play for the Netherlands against Poland. I thought, okay, this guy's got something about him, and he's already looking very, very adept.
Well, he just looks like, he looks suited to what they want to do. I think he's somebody that can be a shield. I think when they've turned the ball over, I think he maybe could have been better there. But, I think he's somebody that at the moment is physically doing well. But the more games he has in a Manchester City shirt, I think the more communication skills will come in. He'll start to dominate people verbally and with his personality. Because there are times, I think, when the ball's been turned over, when he should have, or somebody else should have been pushing into an area, anticipating that was where the ball was going to go, win it back straight away, and on we go again. So that is certainly a part of their game that wasn't good last year. And it has showed itself to not be good enough in this game. But it's only half a game, and it's still early days, so I expect them to be rusty. I expect that things will get more polished and better, and that will take time.
That's Alvin Martin, former England international and West Ham centre-half, alongside me, Ian Danter. We're 6 minutes past 6 UK time on Wednesday evening. Manchester City about to get the second half underway against Wydad of Casablanca. 2 goals to the good, Manchester City, from that first period. Second minute strike from Phil Foden and a volley 3 minutes from half time by Jeremy Doku. The Manchester City players are all out there. No sign of the Wydad players. In fact, they're just emerging from the tunnel. And of course, the tunnel is not on the halfway line, because in these NFL stadia, the tunnels tend to be at the far end of the pitch. So there's a long walk back onto the playing surface for all the professionals as they come out of the tunnel away to the far right-hand side. But Wydad will be attacking towards their sizable contingent of fans who are behind the goal to the right-hand side in the second half of this game. It remains to be seen whether the manager, Ben Hakem, is going to make a change at the start of this second half. His father played for Wydad. He's the new coach. He was a youth player at the club, 49 years of age. And somebody was saying, what about the experience of, lack of experience in taking on Pep Guardiola? And he said, I'm 49. Don't tell me I don't have experience. And he's going to bring on Rai for Mailula at the start of this second half. So he is making a change. Mailula was the only player booked in the first half. And Mohamed Rahi, 30 years of age, is going to be brought on. That may well see a switch in terms of where Lorch was playing, because Lorch was playing on the right or the left, but it may well be that Ray goes to the right, Lorch goes to the left for Wydad in this second half. But that substitution confirmed by the fourth official. And the top scorer from the season just gone in the Moroccan League, Mohamed Rahi, comes on. I wonder whether he can do anything to unlock the Manchester City defence that looked a little shaky just now and again in the first 45 minutes.
Well, maybe we'd had thought, we've set up defensively because we know that they're a world-class team, world-class players, and I've seen the first half unfold, 2-0 down, admittedly, but I think that they can see that maybe there's a goal or two in it for them here, and if they get the next goal in the game, the whole complexion on the game changes, and it does something obviously to Wydad, but also to Manchester City. So I think they're being adventurous, and it's right. I think it's the right thing to do.
Back underway on the second half. Manchester City in their sky blue, Wydad wearing the all red. You're listening to the FIFA Club World Cup live on Talksport 2, presented by DAZN. Sign up at DAZN.com to watch every game live and for free. And Marmoush trying to get into the penalty area already early part of the second half, but Ben Abid, the goalkeeper, out to claim. Manchester City's lineup, no changes from the first half. Ederson in goal, Lewis, Rice, Ake, O'Reilly, and then Reinders, Foden, Savinho, Cherki, Doku and Marmoush. I'll go through the Wydad lineup in a moment, but they're coming forward, the Moroccans, with Nordin Amrabat. Early ball into the edge of the area, looking for the new arrival Rahi, and then an ambitious shot from distance from Lorch. In fact, it was Mufi who had the effort that goes wide. So Ben Abid, the goalkeeper, then Mufid, Boutouil, Mufi, Myers and Ferreira in a back five, El Mubarak and Zemraoui in midfield, and then Lorch, Amrabat and Rahi up top for the Moroccans. Minute and a half gone in the second period. Given away by Manchester City. Mubarak out to the left-hand side. It's tucked in field. It was good football again from the African side. Now to the edge of the area, and there's a fierce drive from Lorch again that sails over the crossbar. And he's not shy of having a go at goal from distance, is Lorch from distance. It was a good 30 yards from goal, quite central, but just couldn't wrap his foot round it enough. Goal kick, Man City, 2-0 they lead.
Yeah, it was a big ask, but he's been the standout player for them. In the first half and the start of the second half, he's willing to run. He's willing to take people on. I think he's technically he looks like he's got a lot of ability, left and right foot. And certainly, he could be a way back into the game for them.
Back on American soil, Lorch, who did play a number of years for the Orlando Pirates club. 2 balls on the pitch for the moment, so Ederson can't take his goal kick quite yet. Now he can, and will thump it left-footed right down the centre of the field, looking to get Doku in behind the back line. But that's well dealt with at the back, and then a foul on Mufi by Doku will give Wydad a free kick in their own defensive third.
I must admit, sometimes, I'm watching modern day football. I played a long time ago, but I look at Doku and I think, I'd hate to have played against him.
You'd have been sent off.
Oh well, I think he's certainly physically he's a demanding challenge, isn't he? But his ability to run at you and technically left or right, he's a great player.
Zemraoui did really well, and away come Wydad into the edge of the area. The shot came from Rahi and it was blocked. Offside flag didn't go up in the end against him. I thought he was offside when he received the ball, but the referee said play on, and here come Manchester City on the counter with Phil Foden. Finds Doku approaching the left-hand corner of the area, just knocks it back for Omar Marmoush. Little chip into the area looking for the run of Cherki, and it will break for Savinho, right-hand side of the box. Rahi's gone back to defend.
They've got that look about them, Manchester City, that they had at times last year where it's a little bit predictable, the football, the build-up play, the lack of movement. It's static. They're relying on individuals to do something special, and it's not Man City like.
4 minutes gone, second half. Talksport 2, Manchester City 2-0 up. Doku rolls the ball back to Nico O'Reilly. Further infield it goes to Reinders. Ball up to the edge of the area, but that's comfortably cleared by Wydad. It will come back though right-hand side of the area. Savinho going for the byline, gets the cross in, and it's turned behind for an early corner in this second half to Manchester City. 2-0 they lead.
Yeah, that's a good battle. I've mentioned it a couple of times. Savinho wants to, take people on the outside and cut in on his left foot where he's strong as well. But Muford has been equal to him. I think the one chance he did get to go past him was really early in the game when the keeper palmed one out and they ended up scoring. And I only remember him going past him one more time. So I think it's something we need to see more from Manchester City's point of view. 7th corner of the game for Manchester City. Foden takes it, lands on the 6-yard line, and it was Vitor Rice who got into the near post just ahead of the defender Guilherme, but couldn't keep the header down. But it ends up being a Wydad goal kick. Just a bit too high for him, Dan. He made the run, but he was always trying to get directed down. He got a good head on it, but credit to him. I think it was a ball that was too high. That thumping noise you can hear is Erling Haaland warming up on the touchline on the near side. Some talent there, isn't there? Bernardo Silva's out there. Rodri. Bernardo Silva now the captain at Manchester City. Yeah, a fabulous professional. He allowed the players to pick their own captain, didn't he, the last time out? And they went for De Bruyne, but he said, this time I'm picking the captain. I've decided I want to control that. Yeah. He's obviously picked a consummate professional. Well, Bernardo Silva... Not that De Bruyne wasn't. No, that wasn't your suggestion. I wasn't reading between the lines, Alvin. Honestly, I wasn't. But Bernardo Silva, one of the longest serving players at Manchester City, will now be the skipper for the season to come, but he's got a watching brief at the moment from this near touchline as Wydad try and bring the ball forward. Ball played into the feet of Amrabat inside right channel. Lorch had received it earlier. Lorch looked like he's playing more central now, actually, wearing the number 4 for Wydad. Was playing out on the flanks in the first half. Now it's with Mubarak, has to work it back into his own half. And a lovely little turn from Zemraoui, and a little ball threaded through, and Lorch is onside, but Ederson, great starting position from the Man City goalkeeper, came out and just thumped it out of play, but the offside flag had gone up against Tembinkosi Lorch anyway. Free kick. Yeah, I think the run was a good one, the ball in was a good one. They just didn't play it quick enough, and again, as you mentioned, the starting place, position of Ederson was perfect, and these are all good little tests. They hone your defensive and your attacking skills as a unit. As you say, Juventus will be the 3rd game in this group for Manchester City. Their destiny should be, in theory, sealed by then. They'll be playing Al Hilal are playing Real Madrid later. Live on Talksport 2, Al Ain of the UAE will play Manchester City in the very early hours of Monday morning. That's a 2 a.m. kickoff here on Talksport 2. I think the surprising thing as well is that there's 2 games there that Manchester City will play before they play Juventus, and you can make you get a lot of sort of experience and improvement within those 2 games. Pressing the ball when you've got it, when you haven't got it, people getting used to each other. Like I said, Mr. Cherky, we haven't really seen the best of him today, but you'll have 180 minutes, 100 minutes, whatever it may be, that Pep gives him, just to find out, and talk to people after the game. I want the ball laid in here. This is how I want it. This is what I'm good at. Can you do that for me? And that communication and coaching ability of the Manchester City staff as well. Going through videos with them, stuff like that. You can see quite a big improvement over 2 games. Reinders and Cherky both making their competitive debuts for Manchester City today in Philadelphia for this Club World Cup opener. 8 minutes of the second half gone. Still 2-0 to City as it was at the break. That's a poor ball from Nathan Ake, though. Completely got his angles all wrong there. Just chipped it straight out of play for a Wydad throw left-hand side. And it's kept in play by Mubarak, who gets it back now. His long hair tied up in a ponytail at the back. Back it goes to the halfway line. Guilherme rolls it across. Slow on the press there, Manchester City again. And then it goes back to the goalkeeper, Ben Abid, and he finds Guilherme. Guilherme's been robbed by Doku. He's saved by the keeper. That should have been 3-0 because Guilherme completely lost where he was, the Brazilian centre-back. Robbed by Doku, just outside the area left-hand side. And Doku ran in on goal, took an early shot, but good goalkeeping. I have to credit Ben Abid there.
kept the score down by plunging to his left and turning it behind.
Yeah, Doku will feel aggrieved that he hasn't done better there. He had a great chance. He could have picked wherever he wanted, low right, low left, anywhere. But it's a good save, I have to say. But the attacker should score in that situation.
The corner comes to nothing for Manchester City in the end, but they've got possession back. Marmoush trying to play it down the right-hand side of the area, and it was Mufid that caught the ball with his heel. It went out of play for a throw. And there is a Wydad player down, flat on his back, just outside his own penalty area, so the referee goes across to check on his welfare to see whether that player needs treatment. Holding his shoulder, just looking to see who it is. It's Mufi that is sitting up now and will be helped back to his feet. And that might just be a little bit of gamesmanship, just taking a bit of the sting out of Manchester City's impetus.
I think, again, they gifted Manchester City a great chance to make it 3-0 there, because they played well for the majority of this game, but you can see every now and again they just make a mistake, and it was Meyers who had a terrible first touch and allowed Doku to intervene, get the ball, go one-on-one with the goalkeeper. They've done well, like I say, technically, and together they've limited Manchester City to very few chances, but every now and again, that calibre, that class, it goes missing with them.
Savinho, right-hand side, tucks it in field. Shot taken at the edge of the area, but it's cleared away by Wydad up to halfway, but comfortably headed back down by Vitor Rice. But there was a handball in there from a Man City player.
Yes, Savinho.
Giving us a free kick.
Yeah, Savinho. Again, he showed little glimpses, Savinho, wasn't he, of his real ability, world-class ability. But we're not seeing consistent ability, changes. We're not seeing a consistent game in 56 minutes gone. I think there's been far too much, possession allowed to Wydad. He won't be happy with that. His possession is a big thing, isn't it, with Guardiola's teams. And although they've had the lion's share of it, I expected the possession to be much more controlled.
That's the voice of Alvin Martin alongside me, Ian Danter. You're listening to the FIFA Club World Cup live on Talksport 2, presented by DAZN. Sign up now at dazn.com to watch every game live and for free. We've played 56 minutes. There's a break in play at the moment with another injury to a Wydad player. It's Manchester City 2, Wydad 0, as it was at half-time, and a double change, a triple change in actual fact. I think we're going to see Oscar Bob as well as Rodri and the man himself, Erling Haaland, as Pep Guardiola decides he's seen enough from the starting 11. Headed clear by Ake as Wydad tees the ball up to the edge of the area. Marmoush plays the ball into the feet of Phil Foden, striding forward out to the right-hand side, and Savinho. Cherki just ahead of him down that right flank, but he tucks it back in field instead to Reinders. As Talksport listeners join us as we approach the hour mark in Philadelphia, Manchester City are 2-0 up on Wydad. Goals at either end of the half in the first half from Phil Foden on 2 minutes and Jeremy Doku on 42 minutes. Foden's goal after the goalkeeper pushed out an early Savinho effort straight to him. Very cool finish from Foden. And then Doku from a corner kick volleying home at the far post. But Alvin Martin, there have been times in this game in Philadelphia where Manchester City have looked a little suspect at the back, and other teams would have punished them more than Wydad have tried to do.
Yeah, I think it's a respectable scoreline, but I don't think it's been a polished performance by Manchester City, and certainly improvements can be made.
As Edison has to come out beyond his penalty area to stop Lorch, the striker for Wydad, getting onto a long ball downfield. Just keeps the ball away from Lorch with a last-minute pass, does Edison, and away come Manchester City down the right-hand side with Savinho. He's seen a lot of the ball, trying to go on the outside of his man. Defender goes to ground, move it, and puts it behind, and that's going to be given as a corner kick, I think, but it's going to allow a triple change to be made, including Erling Haaland and Rodri, who are going to come on approaching the hour. Commentary continues on Talksport 2 of this game in Philadelphia. It's Manchester City 2, Wydad 0. We're about to see who's coming off to allow these players to come on, and Cherki, who, as Alvin Martin's been saying, has had a lacklustre game, I think it's fair to say. He is one of those players making way. Phil Foden who got the ball rolling with that early strike. He's also coming off to allow Rodri to enter the fray. And then we'll see who's coming off. It's Doku, who's actually already made his way off the field, and that allows Haaland to come on. So Haaland and Marmoush playing together. That should mean that Marmoush, Alvin Martin will just drop into the 10 position.
Yeah, that's right. I think, look, you know, I think the talent that they've got is unbelievable. I think this last 10 minutes or the second half certainly has been lacklustre. You've had the one chance, haven't we, that really should have done better with Doku. But apart from that, they haven't really got behind this team. Wydad. I think it's been a little lacklustre. And that'll be a little worrying, but look, it is early days, and I'm always loath to be too critical early on when you're still finding a way of getting your players' understandings throughout the unit, and it's warm conditions, etc. So I think I'm not expecting too much of Manchester City. I think the result maybe is as important as the performance here.
Well, here down the right hand side is Mufi. And he's won a throw for Wydad. About 10 yards from the corner flag, right-hand side. And there's going to be changes. And Mufid, the number 2, the left wing-back, he's going to be coming off. As changes are going to be made by the new manager. And Zamraoui is coming off. And Amrabat is also coming off, and that's going to allow Mikel Malsa, French player, to come on. I thought it was Mufid that was coming off, but appears not. And the other player coming on is Samuel Obeng, who joined in January on a free transfer from Casapia in Portugal. Had a long spell at Real Oviedo in Spain. So that's a double change made by Wydad. 2-0 down. They throw the ball into the Manchester City penalty area. Guilherme tries to flick it on. Haaland tries to bring it clear and combine with Marmoush. Just runs into trouble. There's enough players back there. And it was actually Malsa just onto the field who stole the ball off Haaland. And Wydad try and build down the left-hand side. Good touch down the left-hand side. Ball played through to Obeng. Out to the left-hand side, and Raihi back into the area looking for Obeng. And Ake uncomfortably puts the ball behind for a corner kick to Wydad on the right-hand side. 62 gone on Talksport 2. Encouragement for the large contingent of Moroccan fans. It's Manchester City 2, Wydad 0.
Well, Wydad shouldn't really be allowed to get into that area again. It was one ball played through. They've been caught in a line, too square. And it's only the ball in that's not got sufficient quality on it that gets Manchester City out of trouble and allows Ake to make the challenge.
Corner kick, swung in from the left-hand side. Guilherme flicks it on at the near post, and it almost found a Wydad player at the far post. Manchester City player got a touch, and they're trying to let it roll out of play. And it's well done by Mufi to win another corner on the opposite flank for Wydad on their right-hand side. It's a good flick on at the near post by Guilherme, the centre-half.
Good delivery. And I think it's 2-0 to Manchester City, but I think they'll feel aggrieved with that. They certainly feel that they should have one goal on the scoreboard.
Lorch is going to take this latest corner for Wydad. Deep to the far post. Free header for Obeng, and it's come off there was a push in the area by a Wydad player, and a free kick's going to be awarded Manchester City's way. But again, not entirely comfortable moments at the back against the multiple Moroccan League title winners. It actually hit the arm of a Wydad player from the header on goal from Obeng, and that's why Manchester City have been awarded a free kick. There's one Manchester City fan in the midst of a whole clutch of Wydad fans wearing his Manchester City top. Boy, oh boy, how lonely does he feel right now? They're not paying attention to him, though. They're fixated on their own team, the Wydad fans, who are giving a good account of themselves, I must say.
Yep, absolutely. I think there's been some really good aspects of their play this afternoon, but I think the one thing that he'll be unhappy with as a coach is the 2 goals they've conceded, because they did play a part in them themselves.
That's Alvin Martin, you can hear alongside me, Ian Danton. This is Talksport 2 at the Club World Cup, and we will bring you Real Madrid against Al Hilal tonight. on TalkSport 2 at 8 p.m. Joe Shannon and Scott Minto, who you heard from at half-time, will be your commentary team for that one. Also at the same time over on TalkSport, England's under-21 players play the Germans in the European Championships. And James Fielden and Darren Ambrose will be your commentary team for that game. So you've got a choice of listening. This is where the TalkSport app comes into play. The newfangled, new, improved, tastier than ever TalkSport app that you can download for your phone. Loads of options, audio and visual with the TalkSport app. 2-0 to Manchester City with nearly 20 minutes gone in the second half. Wydad have a throw, right-hand side, taken quickly by Lorch. Guillem sent it back to the halfway line. Good quick feet there on halfway. They're trying to swing it out to the left-hand side for Rayani. But it's won back by Marmoush for Manchester City. But Guillem, this tall, rangy Brazilian centre-half, won it off him and then just passed it straight to Savinho, who's now operating on the left-hand side since Doku went off. And then an aimless ball from Man City gives Wydad a throw bang on halfway. 25 minutes to go. 2-0 to Pep's men.
Yeah, it was Rodri who just give that ball away there. I wonder how long it'll take him to get back to the absolute pinnacle of form that he was. He played the 3 games last year before a terrible injury, and he's certainly somebody that Pep Guardiola will want to see playing week in and week out.
His last start was the 22nd of September against Arsenal before the ACL. He got 7 minutes at Bournemouth in May towards the end of the season, but we will surely see Rodri start a game at these Club World Cup Championships to get him more attuned to life back as a regular Premier League footballer. Ilkay Gundogan is going to be on shortly for another change for Manchester City, who are in possession inside their own half with Ake. Plays a quick 1-2 with Vitor Reis. Gets his head up, Ake wanting an option. Rodri's just next to him. And then it's tucked back in field by Rico Lewis, who receives it now under pressure from the Wydad midfield. Played out to the right-hand side. Oscar Bob, the Norwegian, who's himself not long back from a nasty injury, broke his leg back in August of last year, the Norwegian. So it's good to have him back as far as Pep Guardiola is concerned, to bolster the ranks still further.
Well, they're keeping possession, but it's all around the halfway line, and it's passing for passing's sake at the moment. There's no real strategy or advantage to it.
Well, now Rodri plays it in field, and that gives a chance for Rico Lewis to try and thread it through to Haaland. Intercepted in the nick of time. Very important interception by Boutui to keep it away from Erling Haaland. You can't miss him out on the field. You know where he is most of the time. Ball played up to halfway. A foul by Rodri. Brought down Mufi. Protests his innocence.
I've got to say, I think he's got a case there. A little unlucky, Rodri.
Yeah, it looked like Mufi had actually kicked Rodri.
That's right.
And went down and won himself the free kick.
But that again is when the ball's turned over, he's always reading, anticipating where the danger is, and that shield and that intelligence, they really missed that last year.
So Gundogan is coming on, and he's going to be replacing Marmoush. So there's only a few minutes that Marmoush and Haaland were out on the field together in tandem. And Ilkay Gundogan, who was Pep Guardiola's first signing when he took over at Manchester City, back for a second spell, having had that brief sojourn at Barcelona. He's on into the Manchester City midfield. So you've got some real strength in terms of protection there now, haven't you, Arvin, with both Rodri and Gundogan out there?
Yeah. Haaland's been on, hardly touched the ball. He's been chasing around after the ball more than anything, and I think he is somebody that is used to Manchester City's approach, and the fact that you don't get a lot of touches in the final third, but when you do, it's usually quality. And I think that's something that maybe Czechi's got to get used to, not being involved in the game, getting fewer touches, because there's so many other people who've got the ball, and you've got to accept that that's part and parcel of it. But it's then recognising the time that you do ignite, that you do, think, right, now I'm on, switching on, not losing concentration. Because he looked a little out of sorts there, didn't he, in the time that he was on the pitch, Cherky?
You're missing none of the action at the moment, by the way, because Mufi, who was caught in that challenge with Rodri requiring some treatment, so an impromptu drinks break has broken out at the Lincoln Financial Field in Philadelphia, with Manchester City 2 goals to the good, just over 20 minutes to go. So much live sport to bring you across the summer here on the Talksport network, including the Club World Cup, including the Women's Euros in Switzerland that's not that far away from getting started. You've also got the Open Golf Championship and the World Match Play Darts to bring you in July on Talksport. And then next thing you know, we're into August, and the EFL and then the Premier League get back underway. Premier League fixtures came out this morning, and the conspiracy theorists had their fun about who's got the worst start and who's being deliberately given a rotten start to the season.
Well, certainly when you look at Manchester City's first few games, Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away, United at home, Arsenal away. There aren't any easy games there, are there? There really aren't, and that's why it's a great league, and that's why you have to prepare so well in a competition like this. I think you get a head start, because I think this is a good quality competition, and I think it prepares you really well for the Premier League start.
I think what the Premier League has done in recent years, you've seen the emergence of teams like Bournemouth, Brentford, Brighton, the mid-table teams who are far more of a match and far more capable of upsetting the elite teams on any given day than has been previously possible. And that's because they've got just as much financial clout, arguably, as those in the very high echelons of the table.
Yeah, I think the pyramid at the top to the bottom is being condensed by so much, and I think it's what a wonderful watch. I'm already looking forward to surprises. And there will be surprise packages again next year, as we've seen last year.
Yeah,
it'll be a wonderful campaign.
Rodri for Manchester City, 20 minutes to go, less than that now on Talksport 2. Receives the ball from Nathan Ake, drills the ball out to the left hand side, looking for Savinho, but hit too hard for Savinho, couldn't keep it in play. Throw in.
Yeah, you've seen he's looking a little frustrated. He's obviously encouraging his players, Pep Guardiola, but I think there's just a rustiness that seems to run right throughout. And Haaland is running around. He's hardly on any of the ball to feet, and you'd have expected him certainly to have a few touches in the penalty area, even the limited amount of time he's been on. But he hasn't really had the ball under control at any stage since he arrived.
No Jack Grealish in the Manchester City squad that's come out to the States for these championships. All sorts of speculation about where Grealish might end up, or indeed is best suited to as a potential move. There was talk of him going back to his old club Aston Villa. I don't know whether that's financially viable for Unai Emery in Villa, or whether Jack really wants that above anything else. Darren Bent on Drive the other day suggesting Arsenal would be a good location for Jack Grealish. Certainly doesn't appear to have a future at Manchester City, who are coming forward down the inside right channel, trying to feed Oscar Bob, but it was worked back to the goalkeeper, quite comfortably dealt with by the Wydad backline in the end, 2-0.
I think Bob really wanted that ball certainly delivered with more quality than that he was in otherwise.
Bob looking for Gundogan, but that was Malsa who picked it up for Wydad, and now a long ball over the top, trying to get launched away once more, but again Ederson's starting position allows him to get to the ball quite comfortably at the edge of his 18-yard box and get it clear with a minimum of fuss. Arguably the best goalkeeper with the ball at his feet. Just looks like he's playing chicken with every single striker he's up against, Ederson. Come on then, try me, I'll bamboozle you. And 99 times out of 100 he does. Here's Gundogan out to the left hand side, and Savinho level with the 18-yard line. They're going to drive at the back line. Good defending, but Savinho gets it back. Bit of space for Reinders to try and get across him. Maybe no, he'll flick it back to Rodri. Now into the centre of the Wydad half, where Ake has found a bit of space. O'Reilly finds Rodri once more. Haaland's waiting for a ball to be sent into the box. It's not coming yet. Savinho now has it, left hand corner of the area. Rodri looks up, doesn't cross into the box. He plays a ball square, and it's worked out by Rice to Oscar Bob on the right hand side. Vitor Rice again, infield for Rodri, centre of the half. Thought about a shot for a moment, I think, did Rodri. Instead it's come back into midfield. Little run up to the edge of the area to find Haaland. Haaland gets the shot away, and it goes over the top. The first we've seen of Erling Haaland in an attacking sense, but he lifted his fierce left foot shot way over the bar. Goal kick.
I think that's more like the Manchester City that we know. They're completely dominating possession for 3 minutes, 4 minutes. But at the end, getting an opening. Somebody drives, gets the ball, gets turned on the ball, 20 yards out, flicks the ball into Haaland. He has one touch and gets the shot away. Normally that ends up in the back of the net, doesn't it? But, certainly that was more like it.
It was Rico Lewis that made that strong run from the right-hand side of midfield up to the edge of the area. Change being made by Wydad, and Myers, the centre-half, he's coming off. And Mutaraji is coming on to replace him. Ismail Mutaraji, who's a defensive midfielder, came back to the club in 2022, was a youth player at Wydad, scored 3 goals last season. It's a like-for-like switch, really, in terms of the way Wydad are set up. They've only got a quarter of an hour, have the Moroccans, to do something about this scoreline. And they haven't been anything like the threat in the second half, Alvin Martin, that they were in the first.
No, I think the possession is being controlled a lot more by Manchester City. Maybe Rodri is, coming on has played a part in that. It's interesting that he's left both of them on. He's left the Reina's on. And I think he's moved further forward, and Rodri's just sitting the deeper two, which means that they will dominate possession. Will he play both of them at times this season? Possibly, against the more attack-minded teams, like the likes of Liverpool and Manchester City. He might go that way. I don't know Pep Guardiola, but it's interesting to see how both of them have interacted. We haven't seen too much, have we, of Renders?
No, but I think he's got the potential to go more box to box. I think he's done that for AC Milan. I can see a box-to-box element in him, Tijani Reinders. And here is Rodri trying to feed the ball down the right-hand side of the box, but it's just overhit. Goal kick.
Yeah, he should do better there. Again, that's a rustiness. I can only put that down to, because he does great to evade the first challenge. Cuts back onto his right foot. He's got a little dink of a ball that he needs to play in with the right weight, and he overhit it. And that's not like him, is it? But that's lack of games.
Kolo Touré amongst the voices in Pep Guardiola's ear nowadays, with the coaching revamp that Alvin Martin talked about in the close season at the Etihad Stadium. Manchester City in possession. Rodri fires the ball into the feet of Oscar Bob down the inside right channel.
Whenever he makes himself available, Rodri, everyone gives him the ball. They all trust him with it.
Out to the right-hand side it goes to Bob. He'll just clip it back in field. Reinders knocks it back into the centre circle via Vitor Rice to Nathan Ake. Now here's Rodri, got 2 or 3 Wydad players around him, but Manchester City comfortable just to knock it about with 1 and 2 touch passing in and around the centre circle. Just keep those Wydad players moving and tire them out. It's worked out to Bob once more on the right hand side. Reinders have made a run down the right hand side of the box but not used. Bob tucks it back into midfield for Rico Lewis. Back again for Ake, just inside the centre circle. Short pass into the feet of Rodri. He was forced back towards the halfway line by Melsa. And referee has stopped play. Just trying to see what the problem is there. There's a smoke bomb that's been let off that's caused a lot of smoke to drift across the playing surface. 78 minutes gone. Manchester City 2, Wydad 0. And we are bringing you Real Madrid against Al Hilal here on Talksport 2 at 8 p.m. Joe Shannon and Scott Minto will be your commentary team for that game. Don't forget England's under-21s against their German counterparts in the Euros. That's over on Talksport at 8 p.m. See how Lee Carsley's men get on in their second group stage encounter. Play back underway. Smoke has cleared sufficiently from the goal to the right-hand side. Manchester City 2-0 up with 12 minutes to play. Trying to keep possession, but they've lost it. And away come Wydad on the counter-attack with Lorch. Getting up to the right-hand corner of the area. 2 to his left. Tried to fire it across to find Obeng, and it's put behind by Nico O'Reilly for a Wydad corner. 2-0 Man City.
O'Reilly was the one that gave the ball away. They've dominated the last 10 minutes of football. They've hardly had a touch, Wydad, and I think all it takes is one mistake like that where you give a ball away and you allow them to break forward. He's got a lot to learn, O'Reilly. Physically, he looks a really good player. But it's just, he's trimming some of these unpolished edges, and he's got to get that right.
Mutaraji's corner into the near post. Came off a City player last of all, did it? No, it came off a Wydad player, so it will be a goal kick. And the danger passes for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City with just over 10 minutes of the game remaining on Talksport 2.
It'll be interesting to see when Ant-Nouri comes in, because he's somebody that wants to do both. He wants to defend, but he also, when he goes forward with a real purpose, picks the right options, knows when to pass, knows when to take people on.
Well, for me, it's funny really, Alvin. Ant-Nouri's been Wolves' secret weapon for me for a number of seasons.
Yeah, but he is complete. He really is complete. Sometimes I think you see fullbacks who are good going forward, but defensively aren't great, and vice versa. Defensively is strong, but lack that little bit of culture.
And he's proved himself adept in both a 4 and in a 5.
Yeah. Good footballer.
Here come Manchester City 2-0 up. Savinho infield for Rodri, trying to play the ball across to Bob, but again that's a slightly rusty pass from Rodri, and Wydad win it back. Lorch inside his own half, bounces off Gundogan and brings the ball clear. Plays the ball through the middle for Obeng on the run, but again, brilliant starting position from Ederson. Just swept the ball downfield with his left boot, but couldn't find Haaland. 2-0.
He's done well there. Yeah, again, Lorch is the one player that you feel has got, he's got the key. He's got a goal in him, or he's got a supply in him, and he nearly got that right, just slightly overhit. And with the way Man City play, and certainly the way he reads the game, Ederson, you've got to be absolutely perfect with the weight of that pass.
Down the right hand side, Wydad try and come forward, but it's a poor pass that's easily picked off by Ake, and he just trots toward the loose ball near his own 18-yard line and plays a square ball for Vitor Rice. What have you spotted, Alvin?
Now it's reminded me of the Man City, the successful Man City, where they tend to frustrate teams. You can't get the ball off them, and then you get frustrated. You then overcommit yourself, and they end up getting a goal against you. And killing the game off. So
as soon as you say that, they give it away.
But it's not. Look, they aren't right at the moment. Now, like I said, there's a lot of new players in there. They win the ball back again, but they are starting to show little signs of it starting to happen for them. I think the final third play needs to improve, and that was the same last year. Sometimes they're reliant on individuals rather than the team pattern, which Pep has always been, so superb at. His philosophy of the way the team plays as a unit. It became very individual last season.
There are players who you might say were first choice players that are either not in the squad through injury or not starting today. Gvardiol being an obvious example of someone who's out here. Stones is still injured, just coming back to fitness. He's out here to support his teammates, but he's not going to participate. And then you got Bernardo Silva, who's now the club captain, waiting on the bench as an option for Manchester City in this post De Bruyne era that we're now into with the citizens. 7.5 minutes to go. Manchester City 2-0 up on Talksport 2 in the Club World Cup, and looking far more comfortable than they did at times during the first half. Wydad are nowhere near the threat that they were in that first period, even though Ederson didn't really have a save worthy of the name to make. There were jittery moments. And here comes City down the right-hand side. Driving run, trying to feed it back to the run of Haaland from Reinders. He's won a corner on that right-hand side for Manchester City. They lead 2-0.
He seems to accept it, doesn't he, Haaland? That he's playing in a team that is going to dominate the ball, and they might have it for 15 minutes. He might not get a touch because they're playing around the back. They're frustrating the opposition, but he buys into it. He knows that the chances will come, and I think that's where Cherky's got to really watch Haaland. He's sitting on the bench now. You can learn a lot by watching Haaland.
Well, Lorch has been taken off, and Stefan Aziz Ki is on as a striking replacement for Wydad, but he's got some defending to do first to join his teammates out there in his own penalty area for this latest Manchester City corner. Haaland an obvious target. In it comes to the far post. It drifts over everybody's heads. It's kept in play by Bob on this near side. Keeps it away from Raihi. and then works it back for Gundogan. Now played across by Lewis. Tucked in field for Rodri by Reinders. Rodri again, midway point of the Wydad half, tries to hit a diagonal ball out to the near side, but it came off a Wydad heading out of play, and Gundogan will take the throw. Be Juventus next for Wydad, whilst Manchester City take on Al Ain in the early hours of Monday morning. You'll hear that on Talksport 2 as part of our coverage of this Club World Cup.
I think Wydad, you're coming on to 84 minutes now, Dan, so look tired, don't they? Because they have been chasing the ball in the second half.
I think Manchester City have completed twice as many passes as their Moroccan counterparts in this game. 5 minutes to go on Talksport 2. Manchester City 2-0 up and coming forward down the right-hand side with Bob. Bob went to throw and wants to take the throw relatively quickly. At least it looked like he wanted to. But in fact, he's going to take his time and ends up giving the ball back to Rico Lewis to get the ball back into play. Reinders loses possession. Here is Malsa, one of the substitutes brought on in the second half by Wydad. Obeng almost played in by Mutaraji at the edge of the area, but Manchester City deal with it. Savinho inside his own half, drifts out to the left-hand side under pressure, feeds it back to Nico O'Reilly, and Edison, rather than thump it downfield, just passes it to the right-hand corner of his own penalty area. Wydad do get players around the ball and put it out of play for a throw, but just couldn't get the ball back into their own spell.
Yeah, I wonder if there is anywhere else that Pep Guardiola and Manchester City will look at strengthening. Let's talk about the full-back position, right-back. They've obviously got a left-back in. Livramento is maybe mentioned, isn't he, as a right-back. Walker, Kyle Walker maybe set to leave. But I'd be surprised if there's anything more than that, Dan. So, they've invested a lot of money. I don't know how it all works all that. You think about the financial fair play, but the additions have certainly been quality and substantial.
I think it's over £116 million spent in this summer window by Manchester City so far to add to the players that came in January. Marmouche, Nico Gonzalez, Kusanov, all brought in that mid-season window. Guilherme for Wydad, trying to play the ball down the right-hand side. Mutaraji tried to get the better of Ake, but Ake just calmly stepped in between man and ball and guided it back to his goalkeeper.
He is Mr. Steady, and he just gets on with it. No fuss. It makes everything look really easy, and you always know what you're going to get with him.
Failed to score last season, Nathan Ake. Gets the ball forward. Clipped into the area for Haaland to knock it down. Reinders ran onto the ball but just couldn't get himself facing goal to get a shot away, and it's cleared away. Here's Aziz Ki bringing the ball forward for Wydad. 3 minutes to go. Players up ahead of him, tried to feed it through to Raihi. The intended pass was right, but it was Ake with the interception, and then a late challenge.
That's nasty.
Rico Lewis with a late challenge, and there's going to be a red card here for Rico Lewis for the challenge on Samuel Obeng. Rico Lewis hasn't got to his feet yet, but as soon as he does get to his feet, the referee is going to brandish a red card.
I haven't seen this again, but I think he's unlucky there, Rico Lewis. I think he's unlucky, but it's a really nasty connection.
The red card is shown, and Rico Lewis has to exit. How? He says, how is that a red card? VAR will presumably take a look.
It's unintentional. I'm certain it's unintentional, and I understand why he thinks so, but it looks really nasty. He goes to the ball. He doesn't mean that. But that is, when I seen it happen, I went, it looked terrible. Bang, right on the chin. It's just follow through. He wins the ball first, and he doesn't actually try and then, I think, raises his foot intentionally to hit the player in the face, but it does.
Yeah, it caught Obeng.
I'd like to think this is going to be overturned, but, I don't know if it will be. They see it different to me sometimes, VAR and referees. But I do know that I don't think Rico Lewis intended in any way to do that. It's just that the movement of his body, winning the ball, and the momentum took him through.
Once again, we managed to see the referee's view with a camera that's attached to his headset, and he was turning very quickly and managed to focus on the challenge as it was being made. but certainly Rico Lewis won the ball as he went to ground. It wasn't a reckless challenge, but VAR is checking the red card because this is based on the follow-through where Rico Lewis's right arm caught Samuel Obeng.
No, it was his foot.
cheek.
It was his foot. It was his foot. He went for the ball, and as he's sliding, his foot is lifted.
Check over. He's got to go.
Yeah, like I said, they look at it different with referees. I think a player or an ex-player can look at that and think, right, okay, I understand what happened there because it's a natural movement. You've won the ball, and the follow-through has caught him.
Well, Lewis is,
and you can tell by the reaction of the players as well, the Manchester City players. They know he wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have meant that.
Oh yeah, it was the right boot into the
absolutely.
jaw
It's a sickening collision. It's a sickening collision. But did he mean it?
No,
I don't think he did.
I don't think he did. But nevertheless, it's.
And I think a player who did that, if somebody knowingly did that, it would be a rarity, because that would have been deemed as nasty a challenge as you're going to get, and I don't think he meant it.
No, well, it's been deemed as reckless by the referee, backed up by VAR, and Rico Lewis has just leapfrogged the advertising hoardings away to all right to make his way down the tunnel. As we've moved into added time in Philadelphia, Manchester City 2-0 up, but Wydad do have a free kick 30 yards from goal, just to the left of centre. Matheus Nunes is going to be brought on very shortly for Manchester City to counteract the dismissal of Rico Lewis. Can they make the change before the free kick is taken? They want to. Pep Guardiola is asking, can that be done? And Savinho is the player that's going to make way for Nunes to come on. And after all this, Wydad will get a free kick and a chance for a strike on goal here.
Incredible, really. Incredible. If you actually make that tackle, you slide, you win the ball cleanly, do you then see the other player coming in and lift your foot to try and catch him full on the chin? Would anyone do? I suppose there are people who do, but I'd be very surprised if it was that player, Lewis.
Aziz-Ki with a free kick charged down, and Mutaraji with a left-footed drive well over the bar. Be a goal kick to Manchester City, who are down to 10 men with the dismissal of Lewis. There are 6 minutes of minimum stoppage time that have been added on. We've played over a minute of that 6 already here on Talksport 2. Manchester City 2 goals to the good, but a man down for these last few minutes. How much encouragement can Wydad take from that with so little time remaining?
I think it's a perfect example of a team that have got some really good things about them, but nobody up front at the point of the team that is going to take benefit from it, going to stick the ball in the back of the net at this level anyway.
Ball's on halfway. Manchester City can let it drift out of play for a throw to them. We will be bringing you Real Madrid against Al Hilal, an 8 o'clock kickoff, with Joe Shannon and Scott Minto standing by your commentary team for that one. Trent Alexander-Arnold may or may not make his debut for Real Madrid this evening. He is making a start. That's been confirmed. He will start for Real Madrid tonight as he starts his new adventure with his new club. Wydad volleying the ball up to halfway. One back by Rodri, trying to feed it through to Haaland, in on goal, and a great save again by the goalkeeper Ben Abid, who made a great save to deny Doku at the start of the half, straight out to the edge of his area. You would normally have put your house on Erling Haaland making it number 3, not to be.
Well, Man City-like again, isn't it? And Rodri, what a great interception. He reads where the ball's going, strides, controls it, and then plays the perfect ball into Haaland. And you expect Haaland to just lift that a little bit more. You just dink it over the goalkeeper.
Aziz-Ki with a diagonal ball, finding Rahi on the far left-hand side for Wydad. Under pressure from Nunes. Works it back into midfield. Plenty forward in red for Wydad. Aziz-Ki can have a drive from 30 yards. It's blocked by Rodri. Haaland gifts it to Oscar Bob. Remember, it's the 10 men of Manchester City now with that red card for Rico Lewis. 4 minutes of the minimum 6 have gone. They'll probably end up playing closer to 7 minutes because it was at least a minute into that minimum 6 before play restarted after the Lewis red card. Here is Gundogan inside his own half, finding O'Reilly, who rolls the ball back to his keeper. Awkward bounce for Ederson as it just bobbled in front of him. Managed to get the ball clear, but shanked it out of play on this near touchline for a Wydad throw. Ball's back in play, and back with Guilherme. Wydad haven't got much time left to try and reduce the arrears. Who knows how important goal difference might be to get a top 2 place.
I think the first half we had a 2-tier game, didn't we? Manchester City against Wydad, who had their moments. Both teams had moments. You know, the second half has been dominated by Manchester City, and even with 10 men as it is now, they still look in control of the game.
Right hand side, trying to get the ball through to the front 3. Wydad, they've worked it back to centre half. Boutui, he's going to get it back again just inside his own half. Malsa calling for it on the centre spot, receives it now, the substitute, tees it out to the right hand side. Mutaraji with the cross is deflected. That actually makes the claim easier for Ederson at his near post. He still falls on top of the ball.
I think Ederson's touched the ball certainly more with his feet than his hands today, hasn't he?
I would say so. But he might count himself fortunate that he didn't have to make a save in that first half, because there were more than enough occasions where Wydad got themselves in very, very good positions, only not to pull the trigger when it seemed likely. They've just conceded a free kick, Wydad, to Manchester City, and Ederson bids Vitor Reis to head forward because he's going to smack this downfield. We're about to close out the 6 minutes of minimum stoppage time. Then it's up to the referee to decide how much more is to be added on in Philadelphia. Manchester City 2-0 up, and in fact there goes the full-time whistle, and Manchester City get their Club World Cup campaign off to the best possible start. 3 points are theirs, courtesy of this 2-0 win over Wydad of Morocco. Phil Foden and Jeremy Doku with the goals at either end of the first half, and certainly in the second half things look much, much more serene and comfortable for Manchester City. The only blot on the copybook was the late red card for Rico Lewis, a straight red given for a challenge where his right foot caught the face of Wydad substitute Samuel Obeng, protested his innocence, but VAR backed up the referee's decision, and I think that's the only real downside of the afternoon's work for Manchester City and Philadelphia, Alvin Martin.
Yeah, I think the result was important, get a win under the belt, and they want to finish top of this group going into the last game against Juventus. But like, there were things that were really good, there were things that weren't so good, and I think Pep Guardiola will pick the bones out of it on video. But certainly when they brought Rodri on, they controlled the game a lot more. They didn't look as delicate defensively. So his introduction played a part. Creatively, can they score more goals? Can they create more goals? Certainly that's an area that they could have been better today. But overall, when you think it's still pre-season and some of these players have not played together as a team unit, I think he'll be happy with the overall performance.
Certainly when we're looking at debuts, we saw Cherki and Reinders both take their competitive bows for Manchester City today, Alvin, and no doubt that Reinders looked the more impressive of the two.
Absolutely, and I think Cherki will, maybe learn. I think he's got to sharpen up. I think the players around him have got to understand what he wants from the team and what he can give to the team, and vice versa. But I think that's about a communication between the manager, the coaches, and the players. But certainly he would have known that he's not going to get as many touches perhaps as he felt, because I think they do pass a lot around at the back, and you've got to be patient, and then you've got to be aware of when you're going to be coming into play. Haaland knows that. Cherki's got to learn it.
And based on that rather animated conversation that Pep Guardiola was having with the referee after the full-time whistle, I wonder whether they might appeal that red that was issued to Rico Lewis.
It won't be rescinded. It won't be changed. It's one of them that you can make a case for the referee giving a red. I don't believe it was a red. I don't think it was malicious. I thought it was accidental. But I think referees see that one differently.
All right, Alvin, let's put you to work, because it's time now on Talksport 2 to pick our man of the match, all thanks to DAZN.
Man of the Match on Talksport 2. Presented by DAZN. Watch every game of the FIFA Club World Cup live and for free on DAZN. Sign up now at DAZN.com.
So, Alvin Martin, where's your nomination going today for the Man of the Match?
I don't think it was an outstanding player. I thought Doku was really lively throughout the game and got his goal. But I'm going to give it to Rodri because it was so great to see him back. And as soon as he entered the fray, Manchester City looked like they started to control the game. And I think that intervention and just the fact that he's back in, I think was a lift for the Manchester City players. So Rodri, I think, is somebody it's great to see back.
Okay, Rodri, that was the Man of the Match with DAZN. You can watch every game of the FIFA Club World Cup live and for free on DAZN. Sign up at DAZN.com.